Hello guys, this is your friend and we are back with a new fanfic. And if you enjoy this fanfic, then please press the like button and subscribe to my channel for more fanfic like this. And now let's start the fanfic.
What if Naruto was Son Goku's firstborn? The Saiyan Harem begins part 2. With the way the sun was shining down from a cloudless sky, you would think that today was going to be a pleasant and beautiful day, or at least that was what Naruto, wearing his orange and yellow gi, thought as he was once again at the Senju household with his uncle. But it wasn't just the older Saiyan that had joined him on his visit. His little brother Gohan was by his side, chin slightly red as he was munching on a slice of watermelon many would think was far too large for the little lad. Yet there was something different about Gohan. It was a simple but significant change. The youngest son of Goku had grown his tail back, an incident that had occurred weeks ago. Piccolo had made to cut it off again but was halted at the protest of both Naruto and Raditz, who managed to convince the Namekian it was a good idea to keep it, and there was no threat of Gohan changing as Piccolo had destroyed the moon many months ago. So the Namekian dropped the matter. Naruto had his own watermelon in hand, munching away happily as he used his tail to make sure the power pole was properly secured on his back. Whipping his mouth, he started talking with the older blonde girl. "I think I've gotten a lot better with my healing. What do you think, Tsunade?" Naruto questioned the older girl. Tsunade made a type sound as she was honest with the Saiyan boy. "You've still got a long way to go before you can become as good a healer as me and Grandpa, but I definitely see improvement." Naruto sighed as he put aside his watermelon, staring up at the sky as he muttered, "I'm not used to things being so tricky. Not even you can get everything on your first try," Tsunade told the monkey-tailed boy as she lightly booped him on the nose with her finger as she said, "Just be patient." Naruto gave his nose a twitch before sending his usual grin at the older girl. "I'm sure with your help, I'll be the greatest healer in no time." "Well, of course, you're learning from the best after all," Tsunade said with pride in both her and her grandfather's skill in the healing arts. However, it was at this given time the Saiyans chose to make their timely appearance in East City and turn the population to nothing but dust. And no, it can't be. Piccolo was the first one to sense the devastation, becoming rigid and alert as he yelled, "They're here early." "So soon," Raditz muttered, feeling a brief ickling of fear. The Saiyan man stomped the feeling down into a deep pit. He would not let his emotions rule him today, especially when his nephew was counting on him. Naruto frowned, looking towards the direction of East City. He couldn't sense any life bar the two massive power levels heading towards this direction. Not wanting Tsunade or Hashirama to be caught in the crossfire, the Saiyan boy knew it was for the best if they flew elsewhere and took the danger with them. "Looks like we gotta go. I'll see you later, Tsunade." Tsunade seemed to understand what was to come, given the troubled look on her face. She called out to her favorite monkey-tailed boy specifically, "Be careful, Naruto." Naruto, the ever-confident and lad, just simply turned to give Tsunade a grin and a thumbs up. "You don't have to worry about me. I'm the strongest." The human girl finished for the Saiyan boy. Tsunade walked up to Naruto, causing him to have to crane his neck so he could stare into her eyes. "I still want you to take care of yourself. Otherwise I'll have to find a new pupil. I promise I will." Tsunade accepted his words, but she still felt she should do something to wish him luck for the fight he was about to undertake. That was when she remembered something her grandmother would do for her whenever she wished Tsunade luck or calmed the girl when there was a brewing storm. Tsunade stunned Naruto, his brother, Piccolo, and especially his uncle when she placed her lips on Naruto's forehead, an intimate act that just felt right at this given moment. "Stay safe." Naruto watched Tsunade walk away with rosy cheeks and wide eyes, his tail swinging in confusion. "I guess the girl does have a soft spot after all," Raditz noted in amusement, waiting for his nephew to respond. Naruto turned to face Gohan, Raditz and Piccolo, showing the group his large cheesy smile. "Let's go kick some Saiyan butt." The 4Z warriors rocketed through the sky, heading towards a faraway rock-infested grassy clearing, where 4 figures stood silently, waiting for the Saiyan threat to arrive. Naruto instantly recognized Krillin, waving as he called out to the bald monk, "Hey Krillin." "Naruto, it's good to see ya," Krillin yelled as he waved back, not noticing Raditz until the group got closer. "Biwa. I thought he was dead. Sorry to disappoint you," Raditz muttered, crossing his arms as he ignored the glare being sent his way by Tien and Yamcha. "Don't worry, Mr. Krillin. Uncle Raditz is a good guy now." Gohan promised the shaken warrior, truly believing his uncle had changed for the better. Krillin shared a concerned look with his fellow Earthlings before he turned his attention to the Saiyan child, asking, "Are you sure, Gohan?" "Yeah, you can trust him," Gohan said confidently, not seeing his uncle's small smile of gratitude. "Well, if you say so." Krillin glanced at Raditz, giving a nervous smile as Tien and Yamcha moved to stand in front of the Saiyan brothers, interested in meeting their friend's children. "So, you're Goku's boys?" Tien questioned before crossing his arms, giving a nod of acknowledgement. "It's an honor to fight by your side." "Likewise," Naruto said, trying not to be rude by staring at Tien's third eye. "Don't worry, little dudes, if things get a little crazy, just stick by us." The scarred man hoped his words would be comforting for the little Saiyans, having no idea how truly powerful they were. "Don't worry, we've been working hard for months. We can handle whatever they throw at us. Right, Gohan?" Naruto asked his little brother, getting a grin in response. "Right." But what joyful times that could be had in their given situation was soon dashed away as the intense and evil presence of the Saiyan warriors enveloped the area. Nappa landed with a crash, creating a smoke screen of dust. When the dust cleared, it showed the giant Saiyan smirking in their direction as he patted down his armor. "You were right, Vegeta, they were all here waiting for us," Nappa called out to his prince and superior, cracking his knuckles as he stared at the Z-warriors ravenously until he spotted his fellow full-blooded Saiyan, not trying to hide traitor. "What, managed to grow a spine in the month you were hiding?" Naruto glanced towards his silent uncle. He could see it was taking everything in his power not to lash out and charge recklessly against one of his oldest tormentors, but the line of restraint was drawing thin and it was a gamble of how much more it could take. "Hey, I'm talking to you, you pathetic little weakling. Answer me," Nappa roared, smirking as he knew he had succeeded in agitating his fellow Saiyan. Vegeta watched the display with amusement, arms crossed as he awaited to see the outcome. Mouth. Raditz's words were so quiet no one could hear them, but his viable shakes and twitches of rage had everyone in proximity concerned. "What was that?" the mountain of a Saiyan questioned, holding a hand to his ear in a mocking manner. "I said," Raditz sprang from his spot in a burst of speed, far too fast for Nappa to have any hope of reacting or retaliating in time. Raditz pulled his arm back for a mighty punch packed with ki, eyes wide with fury as he roared, "Shut your foul mouth." Wham! Blood flew from Nappa's mouth as he was sent crashing into an earth pillar, stunned from what just happened. Vegeta was staring in intrigue, arms uncrossed as one hand reached up to press a button on his scouter. 4752. Surely the scouter must be broken, unless... D-damn scum! Nappa growled out as he wiped the blood off his chin with the back of his hand, his cheek already starting to bruise and swell, but it was his ego and pride that was wounded the most. Raditz was panting from adrenaline. His hand felt numb and it actually stung, but it also felt good, a promise of what was yet to come. Nappa went to charge but was halted by Vegeta's voice. "Take it easy, Nappa, they can suppress their power levels." Impressive but ultimately still useless. "Now tell me, where are the Namekian wish orbs, or as you call them, the Dragon Balls?" "Like we'd ever tell you." Piccolo growled out, annoyed at Raditz for giving away one of their advantages so early. "You're going to be difficult." "Good," Vegeta said evilly as he moved to sit on a nearby rock, calling out to his subordinate, "Nappa, don't we have some Saibamen left? I'm sure they'll be enough to loosen their lips." "Huh, oh yeah, you're right, Vegeta. Hey, let's see how you vermin like this." Nappa reached into his armor where he kept a small clear capsule. One half of it was filled with green seeds and the other half an even darker liquid that would do who knows what. Yamcha, Tien and Krillin tried to stop Nappa, but a flare of Vegeta's power had them frozen in place. The malice, the intensity, the uncontrolled evil. Vegeta was a monster of his own. Poor Gohan moved to stand closer next to his big brother. Even Piccolo and Raditz were not spared from being slightly shaken, but Naruto. He smiled and locked eyes with Vegeta. This baffled the Saiyan prince. A child wanted to face him. The mighty prince of the Saiyans. It was almost laughable in its absurdity, and yet, something in the boy's eyes promised a challenge. Nappa had planted the green seeds and poured a growth serum to hasten the process. Nappa didn't have to wait long before 6 green monstrosities burst from the ground, screeching in horrific excitement. It was hard to describe them, but short mutated plant men seemed to be the easiest description. Red eyes were fixated on Z warriors, just waiting for the order to attack from their Saiyan masters. Tien stepped forward, pressing his knuckles against one another with a confident smile as he told his group, "I'll be going first. Have at it, buddy, but save some for the rest of us." Yamcha called out to one of his oldest friends, looking forward to seeing how much Tien had improved over their year of training. One of the creatures, a Saibaman, looked over at Vegeta for permission. Once it had it charged with a yell and its three-clawed hands spread wide. Tien didn't seem fazed as he thrust his palm forward, sending a key shockwave that knocked the mutated plant off balance, leaving it vulnerable for a sharp elbow to the face. The Saibaman growled, eyes wide and crazed. The seam that ran down the middle of its head split apart and outshot a concentrated burst of acid in a disgusting projectile. The three-eyed man simply moved his body to the side as he glared at the disgrace against nature, uncaring how the ground behind him steadily started to melt away. Tianxinan appeared in front of the Saibaman before it could launch another burst of acid at him. He kicked the green monstrosity hard in the head, sending it skidding into the dirt in front of its Saiyan masters. Vegeta watched as it managed to get back on its feet, glancing at him fearfully, and it was right to fear him as the Saiyan prince pointed two fingers at the Saibaman, uncaring that he ended its life in an instant. Its brains and entrails were spilled everywhere. The Z warriors were stunned by Vegeta's savagery and cruelty. Even Nappa was taken by surprise by the shocking display. "Vegeta, why did you do that?" Nappa asked, looking towards the shorter but far stronger Saiyan in concern. He was already beaten. Letting it continue would have been a waste of time. Vegeta informed the giant before he turned his menacing gaze to the remaining Saibaman, scowling as he said, "I told your comrade to go all out, did I not? Do not underestimate them or you shall share the same fate. Go get him, boys. Hit him with everything you got." Nappa ordered his Saibaman, watching with glee as they charged with reckless abandon, preferring to die to an enemy rather than their cruel Saiyan masters. "Leave it to me," Yamcha yelled as he rushed towards the danger with a grin on his face, confident in his own skill. "Yamcha, wait." Krillin went to give chase after his reckless companion, aware that Tianxinan was not too far behind. Yamcha was relentless with his assault, easily outclassing the Saibaman with his pure combat skill alone. The green creature tried to flee up a small rock formation. Yamcha gave chase with a smirk, thinking he had the little monster on the run, but the Saibaman proved to be crafty as it suddenly turned to face the scarred human, leaping from the rock with its arms spread wide. But the student of Roshi was too fast, appearing behind the Saibaman while at the same time unleashing a Kamehameha that struck dead on. Yamcha looked down proudly as the little monster laid in a crater, seemingly dead and defeated. Gently landing on the ground, Yamcha turned to face his friends with a grin. "One down, only 4 more to go. You guys might as well stay back, I can handle this all by myself." Krillin however noticed that the Saibaman wasn't quite dead and tried to warn his friend before it was too late. "Yamcha, behind you." Was all he managed to mutter before his arms were restrained tightly to his by the Saibaman's narrow and unbreakable grip. The Saibaman smirked into Yamcha's stunned face as it started to glow, using the last of its remaining energy to take itself and its enemy out in a desperate suicidal explosion. Boom. "Yamcha, no," Krillin whispered in despair, gritting his teeth as he closed his eyes. He couldn't bear to look. Raditz cursed himself for forgetting what the Saibaman would do in such a no-win scenario and not warning the man in time. Tien, being the nearest to Yamcha, felt responsible. That if he was just a little bit faster then he could have done something to change this horrible outcome. That really stung. I gotta learn not to be so careless. The smoke cleared to show Yamcha was completely unharmed bar his GI being slightly torn and dirty. His long black hair was scuffed and more than a few bruises were scattered along his form, but he was alive and ready to keep fighting. "You're okay," Krillin cheered, relieved and feeling hopeful that they could win this without the cost of losing a member of their group. "It's gonna take a lot more than that to take me out. Now, let your buddy show off a little." The scarred warrior howled as he rushed towards the 4 remaining Saibaman. He prepared to perform one of his ace techniques as his fingers and hands started bending and stiffing to mimic the ferocious bite of a wolf. The warrior of Earth was blitzing across the field, using his wolf fang fist to full capacity. Each blow capable of killing the mutated plant men, yet he didn't stop until all four were piled atop of one another in a bleeding mountain of defeat. Victory was assured, but he didn't want to make the same mistake twice. Yamcha cupped his hands by his side, charged up a powerful Kamehameha and vaporized the Saibaman out of existence. The bandit of the desert turned and threw the Saiyans a smirk. Don't underestimate us Earthlings, we're packed full of surprises. Yamcha took his place by his friend's side, turning to face the approaching storm that was the mountain of a Saiyan. Nappa cracked his knuckles as he smiled something sinister. Hey Vegeta, let me do it. I'll kill all 8 at once. Vegeta didn't care. Nappa could do as he pleased, but the prince had a condition for the battle-hungry giant: do as you wish, but you leave that boy to me. Nappa raised a brow, glancing at Naruto confused. He could only guess Vegeta wanted to torture the boy a bit before Kakarot arrived, finding no better revenge for that traitor of their race than laying his son dead at his feet. The thought made Nappa look towards Gohan maliciously. Make that 2 dead sons. What do you want with him? Raditz demanded, glaring at his former comrades. The threat of a battle was quickly approaching and no one knew how long they had to wait until Goku made his important return. Raditz also knew just how sadistic Vegeta could be and didn't want his nephew to face such a monster alone. I obviously want to fight the strongest warrior here, and imagine my surprise when that turned out to be a child. For those who didn't know how strong Naruto truly was, it came off as a massive shock to all bar his brother, uncle and Piccolo at the astounding reveal. The strongest? Vegeta, what are you saying? Nappa couldn't believe Naruto was as strong as Vegeta claimed, finding it downright ridiculous. As absurd as it may sound, that boy has the highest power level out of all of them. Tien, Yamcha and even Krillin all looked at Naruto in a new light. Was he really that strong that even the enemy could notice it when they couldn't? Are you sure, Vegeta? Nappa felt baffled and even slightly enraged that someone so young was so strong. I'm sure of it. Hey boy, Vegeta called out to the eldest son of Kakarot. The name's Naruto. The prince admired the halfling's snark, finding it amusing and even entertaining as it reminded him of himself in his youth. A little bastard with too much power than he knew what to do with. Naruto then, show me and I might just let you live so you can work for me. Nappa scoffed, crossing his arms as he growled out, there's no way this little punk is that strong. This little punk is going to make you eat your words. Naruto said confidently as he walked forward, passing by his fellow humans until he was a few feet away from the Saiyan invaders. Naruto crouched and held his fists by his side as he charged his ki, ha. Vegeta made sure to keep his scouter trained on the boy, clicking the button on the side. He watched as the numbers started to skyrocket past the hundreds into the thousands, 7,000, 8,000, 9,000, 10,000. With a final yell of triumph, Naruto had fully unleashed his power. Something he's never had to do before. He let out a calm breath, before looking over towards the prince with a grin, asking, good enough for you? Ha 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 ha, you may be a halfling but you're still a Saiyan, all right. Come boy, I want to see what you can truly do. Vegeta beckoned as he took off towards a different part of the massive clearing, far enough so Nappa wouldn't be able to disrupt their battle. Before Naruto followed after the older Saiyan, he turned to look at Gohan, smiling softly as he told his little brother, remember our training and stay strong. I'll see you soon, okay? Right. Gohan wouldn't let Naruto down. He would try his best and fight hard, just like their father would. Uncle. Raditz looked towards his oldest nephew with resolve, smirking when he saw Naruto's grin. Kick his. With pleasure, dear nephew. This was an order Raditz had no issues following, cracking his knuckles as his ki started to spread over his form like an uncontrollable flame. His gaze was permanently locked with the taller Saiyan. Good luck to the rest of you. I hope when this is over, we can have a big meal together with my dad. Naruto's words were comforting to his fellow humans, and the promise of them all eating together with their oldest friend, Goku, well, it was certainly something to look forward to. Sounds good, little man. Yamcha, the confident warrior that he is, gave a thumbs up and a cheesy smile. Tien, being a man of very few words, settled for a nod and a smile. His loyal and close companion, Chaozu, offered the same courtesy. Krillin, while still blown away by the amount of power the small Saiyan boy had, couldn't help but say, you be careful, Naruto. Naruto didn't say more after that, turning so he was facing the direction where Vegeta took off. His features became more stern and serious as he soared and landed only a few feet away from the smirking prince. This might be my first fight where I can actually let loose. I dunno why, but the thought gets my blood pumping, ya know. That is the nature that lies in all Saiyans. It's what made us fierce conquerors throughout the galaxy. Vegeta felt his own blood start to rush at the prospect of an exciting battle. He was confident that he would win, of course, but he wanted to see what the boy was truly capable of. With a savage grin, he flew towards Naruto, eyes wide as he roared, "Show me your Saiyan spirit, boy." With Raditz, Gohan and the others, Nappa had taken to charging his own ki, grinning as he too was enveloped by his own bright aura. "Let's dance, little man. Don't get in my way," was the only warning Raditz gave his youngest nephew, the Namekian, and the humans as he charged towards the large tormentor. They met immediately in a deadlock, Raditz growling as he tried to overpower the much larger Saiyan, their hands gripping one another in a power play for dominance. Raditz could tell he was stronger than the bald Saiyan. Not by much, but still, he knew this was a fight he could win. The long-haired Saiyan yelled as he pulled a surprising maneuver. He jumped and then used the grip of their hands as a tether, launching both feet squarely into Nappa's face. This blow dazed the giant, causing his grip to loosen and allow the long-haired Saiyan to backflip away before charging forward with newfound ferocity as he unleashed a heavy barrage of guts punches into Nappa's armored diaphragm, cracking the armor with every gut-shattering blow. Nappa growled as he snatched Raditz by his long spiky hair, smirking when the younger full-blooded Saiyan screamed out in pain. Nappa laughed like a madman as he took off towards the ground with Raditz still in his grip, letting his fellow Saiyan go at the last minute. Raditz hit the ground in a mighty impact. The explosion shook the area and left the long-haired Saiyan buried under rubble. Nappa smirked, pleased with himself and assured that he took care of the long-haired disgrace. He turned his attention to the approaching Z warriors, turning his back on his fellow Saiyan. That proved to be a grave mistake as Raditz burst from the rubble in a burst of silver. The clothes lended to him by Hashirama were torn and dirty. Nappa didn't even get the chance to approach his new prey as Raditz drove his knee hard into the taller Saiyan's spine, followed by another and another. This provided Piccolo with the perfect opening to land a sharp kick to Nappa's stomach. Spittle flew from the giant's mouth before he closed it in rage. He placed his right hand behind his back in the direction of Raditz's body while his left hand wrapped around the Namekian's outstretched leg tight. Raditz didn't have a chance to properly defend himself as the heavy ball of ki left Nappa's hand, smacking into his side and carrying the shorter Saiyan away before detonating in a mighty eruption of ki. But the mountain of a Saiyan wasn't done. He swung the Namekian with all his might, batting aside Yamcha and Krillin with his body before throwing the green alien warrior into Tien, sending them both crashing to the ground. Nappa landed heavily, rushing towards the still-down Namekian and human, ready to crush them beneath his giant boot-covered feet, but Yamcha came in last second with a much-needed save, shouting the name of his technique as he assaulted Nappa's face with heavy-clawed strikes, Wolf Fang Fist. Nappa smacked Yamcha away with a ki-covered backhand, but the scarred warrior's distraction proved to be fruitful as the downed warriors managed to move out the way of the giant Saiyan's mad rampage. If only Barley. Tien pointed his finger at the burly Saiyan, concentrating his ki to the tip of his pointer and firing a thin yellow wave, yelling, "Dodonpa." Nappa simply knocked aside the attack as he turned his attention to the three-eyed warrior, smirking as he launched himself at Tien with his arm shrouded in ki, and unfortunately Tien was too stunned to move. Yamcha could sense the unfortunate fate that would befall his friend, so in a brave but reckless move, he shoved Tien out the way. Splitch. Yamcha's eyes were wide, mouth pooling with blood. He couldn't bear to look down because he knew he would see the evil Saiyan's arm going through his chest and out his back. "Why, Yamcha?" Tien whispered, mouth slightly agape as he was left shell-shocked, struggling to accept that his friend sacrificed himself to save Tien's life. Weak scum. Nappa showed his cruelty as he flung the dying man off his wrist as if he was swatting away a common house fly. The three-eyed man moved quickly to catch his friend, cradling him in his arms. Yamcha. No. Krillin wanted to move, he hated himself for not being able to, but he was too shocked, too angry to properly think. Gohan and Piccolo were left shocked, baffled even. They couldn't have expected this outcome, and even if they did, Piccolo knew there was nothing they could have done to change it. Even Raditz cursed Nappa for his cruelty. "Filthy mongrel, I nearly forgot how powerful you were, but this fight is far from over. You'll pay for what you've done." Krillin was the first one to break from his stupor, shifting from stunned fear into a vengeful rage as he lifted his hand above his head and started to concentrate his ki for his ace technique. The yellow disc burst to life in his palm, large and spinning at supersonic speeds. Krillin didn't hesitate to throw his attack with a mighty shout of its name, watching as it left his palm, guided by righteous fury. Nappa smirked at the fastly approaching ki disc, and because he was unable to sense ki, he had no idea how powerful the Kenzan truly was. Until he got a hint of its power when the ki disc started to slice apart the ground on its nearing approach. Now the Saiyan wasn't sure why, but an instinct was telling him he needed to dodge or else he would die, but in his hubris of waiting too long to move, cost him far more dearly than the giant could have ever imagined. A wet thump hit the ground as Nappa's left arm was separated from his body. The giant was silent, staring at his arm with wide white eyes. "That was for Yamcha." Krillin panted heavily, managing to form a smirk as his technique took a lot out of him, but it was more than worth it in his opinion. "You," Nappa growled out as he was hunched over, cradling his bleeding stump of an arm as he roared, "Maggots." Nappa's ki flowed off him like an uncontrollable storm as he shook the area with his pure power alone. He didn't hesitate to charge forward at the now frozen bald monk, intending to crush his skull with his bare hand. But before Nappa could get close to Krillin, he was knocked away by a jaw-shattering punch from Piccolo, followed up by a double axe swing from Raditz that sent the hiking Saiyan in the direction of the frightened Gohan. "Do it now, Gohan. Hit him with everything you have," Piccolo ordered, knowing it will be rare for them to get another opportunity like this. Gohan looked white as a ghost. Only 5 years old, and already the poor lad has seen more death than any boy should. He was terrified, and rightfully so. Even Piccolo's calls couldn't break the boy out of his fear. He started to tear up as he thought to himself, "I don't know if I can do it. I'm so scared. I just want my mommy. I want my daddy. I want to go home." The boy closed his eyes, and in the darkness of his mind, he imagined his father standing tall, looking over his shoulder at Gohan with a soft but kind smile. "It's okay to be afraid, Gohan, but you gotta fight back. Everyone is counting on you. Your brother is counting on you. Your mom is counting on you, and I am counting on you. You can do this, my son. Believe in yourself." "That's right. Big bro is fighting all by himself and I'm acting like a little baby. No, I'm strong too. I won't let anyone down." Gohan's hair flared as his ki surged through his tiny form. He raised his arms, placed one hand over the other, and let loose a large yellow beam with a mighty bellow of Masenko. "Now Namekian," Raditz ordered as he threw his arms forward, sending out a double Sunday that was closely followed by Piccolo's own Masenko. The attacks hit dead on. Ka-boom! The following explosion illuminated the area in a combination of yellow and purple. A rumbling shockwave that shattered mountains, slowly calmed to a still, and the remaining smoke revealed Nappa was still alive. His armor was more or less gone, only stray parts of it remained, but his bare titanic form revealed all the cuts and bruises he sustained from the combined ki blast. Nappa looked almost feral as his ki continued to spike. The more injuries he sustained, the more wild and dangerous he was to become. The giant Saiyan chose his next target carefully. Rushing towards the tired Saiyan child, he moved far faster than he was previously. The adrenaline of losing an arm, fueling him. "Gohan, look out!" Krillin cried, but Raditz was the one to move, getting to Gohan first and knowing he wouldn't have time to fight the hulking Saiyan off, protected the boy by using his body as a shield. Taking a skull-cracking blow to the back of the head, sending them both tumbling to the ground in a crash. "Your turn, midget," Nappa snarled as he once again charged towards the shaking monk, about to kill Krillin when he was stopped by a ferocious shout and immense ki wave sending him tumbling to the earth. "Ki ko ho!" Tien panted as he felt his life force steadily be drained away, his hands cupped together in a diamond formation. His veins bulged as power coursed through his body, and with another shout, fired a second ki ko ho. "Tien, stop. If you keep going, you could die." Xiaosu cried out, knowing his closest friend would go that far, to protect Earth and his friends. Yet Tien didn't, he couldn't. He put the last of his energy and his life force into this final blast, hoping it would be the necessary measure needed to take out at least one of these monstrous Saiyans. "I'll see you soon, Yamcha, and I'm sorry, Xiaosu. Forgive me for leaving you behind." "Ki ko ho!" A yellow light blinded anyone who was brave enough to witness it in all its powerful glory, but alas, some may say its cost was too great as Tien's lifeless body hit the ground. Damn it, Tien, not you too. Krillin whispered in despair as another friend died before his very eyes. Tien, Xiaosu silently cried as he moved to sit next to the body of his friend, mourning him as he silently prayed for Goku's quick and needed arrival. I'll admit, you all were tougher than I thought. The monstrous Saiyan's voice echoed throughout the clearing, but he wasn't quite dead as everyone hoped. But at the end of the day, trash is still trash. Raditz grunted as he shook off Nappa's previous blow, relieved to see Gohan wasn't hurt but furious to see another member of their team had died. We're dropping one by one. I can only hope you're having an easier time than we are, nephew. With Naruto, the eldest son of Goku, was fighting hard. Power pole in hand, Naruto blocked and countered Vegeta's strikes with great efficiency, finding each blow becoming steadily more difficult to redirect as the prince steadily but slowly increased his power level. Naruto ducked under Vegeta's strongest punch yet, holding his magical staff with both hands as he yelled, "Extend!" Vegeta was momentarily confused when a deep pain set in his stomach. Naruto's staff continued to extend, sending the Prince of all Saiyans into a mountain, but far from done. Naruto had his power pole retract to normal before sticking the mighty staff into the ground. With another command of, "Extend," Naruto was brought soaring into the air with his magical weapon, clinging to the power pole for only a moment, then using his strength to swing the extended staff overhead and down where Vegeta lay below, recovering from the surprise blow. The formation of rock shattered upon impact, but the prince was aware enough to catch the staff before it made contact with his face, smirking as he gave a forceful tug that Naruto used to pull himself in close, going for a surprise kick that Vegeta easily avoided. The older Saiyan was surrounded by ki as he launched a barrage of energy blasts at the surprised Saiyan child. Yet Naruto was resilient as he batted every last ki blast aside with his staff, sending them flying before exploding in quick bursts behind the grinning Saiyan child. Vegeta didn't let up in his assault as he suddenly appeared in front of Naruto, sending out a surprise kick that sent the boy's staff spinning out of his hands. Naruto barely managed to leap out the way as Vegeta went for a downwards punch, shattering apart the earth from his raw strength alone. The prince lifted his head, briefly catching the boy's gaze, and they shared a smirk. They continued their dance of combat, faster than any human eye could trail. Even the likes of Nappa and Raditz would struggle to follow the flow of Naruto and Vegeta's battle. The strongest of all the remaining Saiyans' power level had steadily started to surpass the child, but still, he attempted to match Vegeta blow for blow. Yet the older warrior could sense Naruto was struggling to keep up. He was beginning to have the upper hand. Vegeta knew his next punch would be far too fast for Naruto to follow, and he was right. Naruto couldn't guard in time and the mighty blow was dead on its way to burying itself into Naruto's whiskered cheek. A shockwave vibrated the entire area, but miraculously, Vegeta's punch failed to make contact thanks to the effect of Naruto's infinity technique, or rather, limitless. There was much more to this outstanding power than the monkey-tailed boy had previously told Tsunade. Sparks flew from around Vegeta's fist from struggling to overpower the invisible barrier. The Saiyan prince was confused. He knew this was no simple barrier, but whatever it was, he could not get past it. Not even when he raised his power level to 15,000 did he manage to overpower the Saiyan child. "You're crazy strong, Vegeta, definitely the strongest person I've fought so far. But if you think this is going to be easy, then you better think again." Naruto yelled as he started to channel amplified ki into his technique, infinitely converging space to a single point, manifesting a void-like effect and producing fields of attraction. A very complicated technique that could do a multitude of different things, but currently, Naruto only needed it for two things. To increase his strength and speed. HRK was all Vegeta managed to gargle out as spittle flew from his open mouth. Naruto's fist and arm was buried deeply into his solar plexus, stopping his ability to breathe and think. "Because I haven't even begun to show you what I can really do." A high kick to the jaw sent Vegeta flying away as he held his injured abdomen, but the struggling prince didn't get far as Naruto used Limitless to bring Vegeta right back to him, striking the prince with 4 earth-shattering blows and then ending it with a double kick that sent Vegeta skidding away. Naruto was sure he did some damage, but it was definitely nowhere near good enough to take down Vegeta. The prince proved that by standing up straight, dusting off his armor as he glared at the smirking child, no longer amused. Naruto opened his mouth to make a retort, but that was when he felt it. Yamcha's energy dropped until it was gone. The monkey-tailed boy found himself speechless. Vegeta's scouter beeped, informing the drop of a power level, and chuckled, "Seems one of your friends have already fallen. I wonder who it was. The despicable traitor Raditz. The bald weak little monk. Maybe it was the Namekian." He frowned when he saw that Naruto hadn't fallen for his bait. Then he thought back to the other Saiyan child and smiled evilly. "Your little brother perhaps." Naruto's eyes narrowed in slight anger. He knew what the prince was doing and he knew Gohan was alright, but the loss of a life had Naruto slightly shaken. He was worried for everyone, his little brother most of all, and he had no way of protecting anyone while he was focused on fighting Vegeta. It left the blonde Saiyan in quite the predicament. "Dad, I hope you get here soon." In the other world, Goku was flying over the endless yellow cloudy sky and the long stone trail that was Snakeway. The Saiyan raised on Earth had been flying for hours at his top speed, not giving himself a break as he had no time to waste. The Dragon Balls didn't bring Goku back to Earth like he expected when he was wished back to life, so he had no other choice but to fly as fast as he could to King Yema's castle, where he hoped Kami would be waiting for him and ready to bring the good Saiyan back to Earth. "Please don't let me be too late. Just hold on a little longer, boys, Dad's on his way." Goku thought urgently. The mental image of his two boys hurt and in pain only fueled the loving father to fly faster, transcending speeds he didn't even know was possible with the aid of the Kaioken. Goku passed the souls waiting to be judged by the giant red-horned king, running up to the massive desk as he shouted, "Is Kami here?" Son Goku," King Yema muttered as he leaned over his desk to look down at the worried father. Before he could say anything, Kami suddenly showed up out of thin air, rushing towards the orange-wearing warrior. "Son, we must be quick." Goku looked relieved as he met the Guardian of Earth halfway, holding onto his shoulder as said, "Kami." Just in the nick of time. And in seconds they were gone, as if they never appeared in the other world at all. King Yema just grunted as ushered forward the next soul who had died from the Saiyan arrival, muttering to himself, "I'm getting too old for this." With Naruto, the mighty Saiyan child was silent as he focused on fighting the older and stronger prince. Pushing his ultimate technique to its very limit, or perhaps the capacity he can handle at this very moment. Regardless, Naruto was growing tired and he knew it, he just hoped Vegeta didn't know. What it truly came down to was the fact that Naruto's technique worked mainly from using his brain, his eyes and ki. His brain and eyes helped the monkey-tailed boy operate the technique, and his ki supplied the necessary energy to use Limitless effectively, but the drawbacks were that it consumed a tremendous amount of ki and every use of the technique put a strain on Naruto. If he used it more than he could handle, it would fry Naruto's brain. A massive and very possible risk, but one Naruto was all too happy to take. The intense art of combat between the two Saiyans seemed as if it was never going to end. The back and forth between Naruto and Vegeta was frightening as it was intense. Neither one seemed content on bowing to the other. While Vegeta was stronger and had more power, Naruto's Limitless was the perfect counter, and using the blue prospects of the technique made Naruto much faster than the prince. "This damn brat is forcing me to actually use effort. It's absurd. Why the hell is this brat so strong? Is it because he's only half Saiyan? Or is it number? It's impossible. There's no way this child is the legendary Super Saiyan." Vegeta growled within his own mind. He believed in the legend, of course, but he always assumed that it would be him who became the Saiyan of legend. It would be him who redeemed their race and brought it back to their former glory, or at least that had been what he told himself for years, under Frieza cruel rule. Naruto surprised Vegeta with a mean right hook, sending the older Saiyan flying away. Then he applied amplified ki into Limitless once more, but it wasn't to make himself faster as he did previously, but to once again create a void-like effect and produce fields of attraction, and through this action and a center point manifested a blur-colored sphere. The pull of Limitless was far too strong for Vegeta to overpower. Simply overwhelmed, could do nothing but allow his body to be pulled towards the orb. Naruto stood in front of the blue sphere, cupping his hands by his side. The monkey-tailed boy started to chant as he prepared to fire a powerful ki wave, Kamehame. The prince maneuvered himself mid-air, turning his body so he was facing the boy and yelling as he fired 6 ki blasts in a row, but much to his shock, the arrows of ki swirled around Naruto before being into the orb of blue. The light blue ball of ki between Naruto's cupped hands grew to the point where it looked like he could no longer hold the monster sphere of ki, but astonishingly, he did. Waiting until Vegeta was only a foot away before throwing his hands forward with a thunderous, "Ha!" The sheer magnitude of the ki wave was astonishing, almost 5 times the size of Naruto, and yet, the little Saiyan had no problem unleashing such power from his cupped hands. Putting everything he had in the attack and more, Vegeta had to take the deadly blast head-on, having no other choice, and his only form of defense was to cross his arms and shield himself in ki, a minimal effort that was ultimately useless as he was carried by the blue ki wave until it detonated, creating a massive blue explosion that the remaining Z warriors definitely sensed and saw. Naruto knew there was no chance of his Kamehameha defeating Vegeta, but he was damn sure it hurt like hell. The eldest son of Goku was left panting after unleashing his magnificent attack. Blood slowly trailed from his nose as the blue sphere created by Limitless faded from existence. Naruto winced as he wiped the blood away from his upper lip, grimacing as he stared at his stained sleeve. However, the monkey-tailed boy didn't get much time to think about this greatly growing concern as the smoke surrounding Vegeta blew away from his ferocious roar, ki surging around his seething form as he glared daggers at Naruto. The boy is far too dangerous to let live. If he's this strong now, what kind of monster will he be fully grown? Vegeta knew at the moment there was no way for him to get past Naruto's technique, but the prince was a prodigy and a battle genius for a reason. He spotted the faint traces of blood underneath Naruto's nose, the fatigue in his stance. He could win this. Vegeta simply needed to force Naruto to keep relying on his technique and burn himself out. That is when the sinister prince would strike. "You have proven your worth, boy, so I shall honor you with my most powerful attack, but fair warning, I wouldn't try and dodge it. If you do, I might just accidentally blow up the planet." Vegeta warned as he was surrounded by a menacing purple aura. The ground and perhaps the very earth itself was shaking from his power. "What?" Naruto cried as the purple ki ball, spasming with power, grew in Vegeta's cupped grip. The man's eyes went slightly crazed as he shifted his stance. Gaelic gun. The movement of pushing both his hands forward was almost missed as he screamed the name of his very attack to the very heavens, fire. The purple beam scorched and destroyed whatever it made contact with, or that would be the case if it wasn't for Naruto's infinity taking effect. The planet-destroying ki blast was relentless, its power near indescribable, but still Naruto held on, glaring at the smirking prince before letting out a mighty yell and throwing the destructive energy blast into space. Drip. Naruto panted weakly as blood flowed from his nose in 2 steady streams. His body was beginning to burn out, his head throbbed in tremendous amounts of pain, and he felt like he was going to pass out at any moment, so why couldn't he wipe the smile from his face? Was it because of his Saiyan blood? Was it the thrill of combat? Or was it simply the fact that for the first time in his life, Naruto actually had to try? That perhaps, he wasn't the strongest, and out in the vast space that was the universe, there were beings with power that he couldn't possibly imagine. I've nearly pushed him to his limit. Just a little more, Vegeta thought, rushing towards his fellow Saiyan to end their battle. Naruto struggled to use Limitless, the concentration and power needed slowly waning. That was when Vegeta surprised Naruto, holding his hand out and unleashing a ki wave point blank. Naruto's infinity did well to repel the life-ending attack, but the more Vegeta held on, the harder it was for Naruto to fight the energy beam off. That's when the worst possible scenario happened. Naruto's technique overworked his body and his brain, shutting the monkey-tailed boy down. A massive explosion pushed Vegeta back, ending his brutal assault. The Saiyan prince waited for the smoke to clear, and when it did, he smirked at the sight that beheld him. It was Naruto. He was still standing tall, but blood was leaking from his eyes, nose and mouth. It didn't even seem Naruto was conscious given the way his eyes were so dull and blank. That was a magnificent battle. Be proud, son of Kakarot. You are strong. It was rare for Vegeta to give anyone praise, and while he was a proud man, he wasn't too prideful to admit that Naruto was more than a worthy opponent and did more damage to him than any opponent he has ever fought before. He would always remember Naruto. With that thought in mind, he charged one last time, ready to finally end the monkey-tailed boy's life. With Raditz and the others, with 2 members of their group down, tension was thickening. Nappa was steadily weakening, but it wasn't fast enough. Being down an arm seemed to make the giant only more desperate and dangerous. His mustached mouth curled as he looked towards Piccolo. I didn't expect a Namekian like you to be so powerful. I wonder if the others are as strong as you. I'll enjoy finding out as I kill every last one of them. After that I'll wish for a new arm, of course. Others, Piccolo whispered, wondering if the Saiyan was telling the truth. Was it true that he wasn't a demon but actually an alien? And could it be possible that out there was a planet full of his people? So you don't know? Hey, isn't that funny? Nappa chuckled before soaring at Piccolo with a burst of ki. Tragic, you'll never get to find out more about your race, slug. I've got you. Raditz roared, but this was all to Nappa's plan as he suddenly turned to face his fellow Saiyan, swiping his hand to the side as he sent out a very thin ki wave that traveled in an arc. Raditz managed to maneuver his body out of the way of the attack but still got caught in the following blast. With Raditz temporarily out of commission, it gave Nappa the opportunity he needed to return to his sudden attack on Piccolo, holding his own even while he was an arm down. A sudden knee to the stomach had Piccolo keeling over, then a blow to the chin had the Namekian flying until Nappa snatched him by the ankle and slammed him hard into the ground, face first. Mr. Piccolo! Gohan yelled as he tried to come to the aid of his mentor and friend. Gohan! Why? Krillin made to stop the Saiyan child before he could get seriously hurt, but he was too slow. Gohan was kicked back into the bald monk, sending them crumbling into a pile. Nappa turned his attention back to Piccolo, resting his boot on top of the green alien man's skull. Tell me where the Dragon Balls are and I'll make this quick. Nappa made sure to grind his heel as he applied more pressure. I'm not telling you, anything. Piccolo managed to grit out as he glared up defiantly at Saiyan Giant. Fine, I'm done with you all anyway. At that very moment, Naruto's massive Kamehameha blinded the area in blue, forcing Nappa to raise his remaining arm to shield his eye from the light. Losing his footing from the following explosion, Raditz chose that moment to make his timely return, surprising Nappa by wrapping his arms around the burly man's stomach and suplexing the giant of a man into the ground. Leaping away to point a single hand at the struggling Saiyan and fire a full-powered Saturday Crush. Raditz doubted that he killed the troublesome giant, but it would buy the downed Namekian enough time to regain his strength and get back into the fight. Before Raditz could take so much as another move, the sky darkened a purple hue, the earth itself felt like it was shaking to the very core. Vegeta's Gaelic gun had Raditz taking a knee. That damn fool, he'll kill us all. But alas, Vegeta's Gaelic gun was overpowered by Naruto. Raditz cheered for his nephew's success inside his mind, but then the older Saiyan felt Naruto's power rapidly dropping and knew what that meant. He frantically turned to Piccolo, saying, "You and the boy need to handle this. Naruto needs my help. Go." Raditz gave a nod and then rocketed towards the area where Naruto and Vegeta were currently fighting. He prayed he wasn't too late. Raditz arrived just in time to see his nephew about to die. He didn't know when he started to move, but before he knew it, he was across the clearing with his fist buried deeply into Vegeta's cheek. Raditz roared like an Ozaru as he charged ki into his clenched hand. A sonic boom was created from the force of Vegeta spiraling away, skipping across the ground thrice until Vegeta made himself stop, growling like a feral beast as he glared hatefully at Raditz. The brother of Kakarot briefly glanced over his shoulder, eyes briefly softening at the sight of his nephew, Naruto. Raditz looked away and steeled his heart. He would protect Naruto with everything he had left. He knew Kakarot was close, he could sense it. How does it feel, Prince? How does it feel knowing a lower-class warrior made you bleed? Raditz taunted, taking Vegeta's attention off of Naruto and placing it squarely on himself. The Prince of all Saiyans was confused until he reached up with his white-gloved hand, touching his lower lip then pulling his hand away, eyes shaking at the sight of his blood. Damn you! Damn you! Vegeta was merciless as he beat Raditz, his goal to break every bone in the man's body before he killed him. He wanted Raditz to suffer, not just for being a traitor but also for his disrespect and his arrogance at believing he was Vegeta's equal. Raditz felt his consciousness fading from every blow. He could barely stand, but he refused to go down. Not with Naruto counting on him. Pant asterisk, is that all you've got? Raditz questioned with a smirk and bloody face as he fell to a knee, never losing his fighting spirit. I'm ending this traitor. Vegeta snarled as he threw his hand forward and fired a large ki wave that was sure to vaporize Raditz when it hit. Go to hell. Damn it, I'm sorry Naruto. I tried my best. Raditz bowed his head as he accepted his fate with a smile, the ground rumbling as the key wave approached. I'll see you soon, mother, father. But Raditz was not fated to die this day, as the key wave was smacked aside by a force who was more than equal to the prince in power. Long time no see, brother. Kakarot, Raditz whispered, relieved and comforted by the sight of his baby brother. Leave the rest to me, Goku told Raditz with a smile, then glancing over to his son, a look of concern flashing over his eyes before he turned his attention to the Saiyan prince, his features hardening as the greatest and strongest warrior of Earth was ready for the fight of his life. Kami's arrival couldn't have come at a more perfect time, bringing Goku back to Earth in mere seconds, but the Saiyan raised on Earth didn't have time for idle chit-chat. All Goku could do was give a wave of thanks over his shoulder as he leapt off of the side of Kami's lookout. Goku was surprised to see Korin was leaning partially out of his tower, his non-staff wielding hand clenched tight. Son Goku, catch. The father of Naruto and Gohan caught the magical senzu beans, a little disappointed that they only had 3, but he was still thankful nonetheless. Thanks, Korin. Goku at one of the 3 senzu beans, restoring himself back to full power. Not wanting to waste ki, for he knew he was going to need as much energy as possible for the fight to come, Goku cupped his hands to the side of his mouth as he called out for his trusty yellow cloud, Nimbus. Swoosh. His loyal cloud, a gift from his master, arrived not soon after its name left his mouth. Goku grinned as he flipped mid-air and landed in a squat-like position as he rode the magical cloud. You gotta go as fast as you can, Nimbus. His wish was easily granted as his loyal cloud pushed itself to speeds he didn't even know was possible for something so small. His long black spikes flowed in the wind as he brought one of the senzu beans to his mouth, munching down the magical healing bean in a couple bites, and within seconds his strength returned in all its terrifying glory. Just hang on a little longer, boys, I promise I'm not too far away. Goku grit his teeth as he could sense the world-shaking battle taking place between Naruto and Vegeta. He was left momentarily speechless as he thought to himself, geez, I knew you were strong, kiddo, but I had no idea it reached this extent. Wait, something's happening. It's Naruto's energy. It's dropping too low. But it wasn't just Naruto. There was another life force steadily dropping, and the Saiyan warrior knew he wouldn't arrive in time to save said life. Faster, Nimbus, hurry. Goku was left distressed as he wasn't sure who was left on the verge of death and who was still alive. He could only hope his 2 boys were alright. Gohan, Piccolo and Krillin. The Namekian warrior that is Piccolo, the other half of Kami, never would have thought such a monster like Nappa could have existed. The man was down an arm, covered in cuts and blood, but still he kept fighting. He wouldn't rest until we were all dead at his feet and this planet was in smithereens. Piccolo didn't know if they could win. At this point they were more or less stalling until Goku returned, or Raditz did, and given what he could sense, Raditz wouldn't be returning. Hey Krillin, do you have any energy left? Piccolo was almost praying the little human warrior had enough energy for a Kenzen, but he wouldn't give such a thought too much hope. I think I have enough for one last blast. What about you? Krillin asked, knowing that this last charge was a gamble. Success was low, but at this point, what else was left to lose? Yeah, I still have a little left in me, but I'm not sure how much more Gohan can take. Piccolo muttered. His student fought well, but he was near exhausted, panting a few feet away from the Namekian. Yeah, the little guy is looking roughed up. Krillin noticed all the cuts and scrapes that littered Gohan's tiny arms and GI. It wouldn't be right to put the kid through any more pain. I have a plan, and it's a gamble if it will work or not. Piccolo said as he eyed Nappa's tail. Anything is better than nothing at this point. The bald monk replied as Nappa slowly approached the weakened trio. I'll go for his tail. Hold him down long enough for you and Gohan to use the last of your energy and take him down. Krillin thought there was quite a bit of merit to the plan, gaining a smile. That's right, a Saiyan's weakness is their tail. It sounds good to me. Not like I can think of anything better anyways. Piccolo nodded, glad to see the little human was on board. He then turned his attention to his apprentice. Good. Gohan, you follow Krillin's lead, alright. Okay, Mr. Piccolo. Gohan promised before following Piccolo, turning to face Nappa, crouching into a fighting position as he prepared himself to spring into action. Piccolo shrouded ki around himself, growling as the earth broke apart from his very feet as he burst towards the hulking Saiyan. Now. Nappa smirked as he intended to meet Piccolo with a charge of his own. What he wasn't expecting was for the Namekian to throw a ki blast at the ground, creating a smoke screen and blinding the terrorizing Saiyan. Damn pest. Without the ability to sense ki, Nappa was left blind and defenseless, unable to do anything as the Namekian warrior snatched his tail in a tight grip. I've got you no, monster. Hee hee. Nappa slowly turned his head, gazing down over his shoulder at Piccolo with a grin. You didn't actually think that would work, did you? Piccolo wasn't given a chance to respond as Nappa immediately stunned the green warrior with an elbow drop to the top of his head, followed by a sharp knee that sent the Namekian warrior tumbling across the ground, back first into an extraordinarily large boulder. The evil Saiyan reared his leg back and then threw it forward, stomping on Piccolo's face, over and over, steadily cracking the boulder apart. Gohan watched the brutality of his master with wide shaking eyes. He was beyond furious as he roared, "Leave him alone." Gohan. Krillin knew the cruel giant was leading them Gohan into a trap, but he charged forward anyway. Knowing he couldn't let his best friend's son die. It's over. Nappa pointed his remaining hand at the flying Saiyan child, curling his lips sinisterly as he fired a powerful ki blast, strong enough to reduce the Saiyan boy to dust in the wind if he was hit by it, but Gohan's months of training were put to the test as he skewered over the titanic ball of ki. His brown martial arts shoes, skimming it briefly before the son of Goku redoubled his efforts and struck Nappa as hard as he could. Are you okay, Mr. Piccolo? Gohan asked as helped the green alien warrior into a sitting position. Piccolo wiped the blood off his face, wincing as he struggled to stand. Grunting as he attempted to use a piece of the shattered and cracked boulder to rise himself into a standing posting, but it seems he didn't have the strength to do even that. Why you need to run, Gohan? I'm not leaving you behind. Gohan swore as he shook his head. He wouldn't abandon his master to die, he couldn't. Krillin rested a hand on his best friend's son's shoulder in an attempt to calm. Stubborn little idiot, Piccolo whispered, touched by the boy's determination to save his life, but ultimately knew his time was drawing near. He was going to die today, he was certain of it, and he was sure that old fool Kami knew it as well. Before anyone had a chance to do anything, Nappa appeared out of nowhere, kicking Gohan hard in his stomach, smirking as spittle and blood flew out of the boy's mouth. Gah! But he wasn't satisfied with only Gohan. He flew and took Krillin by the face, dragging the screaming monk across the grassy earth before letting him go, leaving the human warrior to drag into the ground from his own momentum. Gohan tumbled across the ground, wrapping an arm protectively around his stomach as he used his left hand to steady himself, wheezing as he glared defiantly at Nappa's cruel smirk. I'm sick and tired of you all. It's time to end it. Nappa charged a tremendous amount of ki into his remaining hand, arm bulging and trembling as he launched his attack at the son of Kakarot. Die, brat. The small Saiyan's child stared death in the face with eyes full of tears. He wasn't ready to die. He didn't want to die, but his body couldn't move, it couldn't do much of anything. All he could do was watch as the destructive ki blast moved in slow motion. Dad, big bro. Anybody, please save me. Gohan. Krillin screamed the boy's name in desperation. He was too weak to move, too broken. There was nothing he could do, but he was still desperate to do something other than just lay in a broken heap. Gohan could only watch in despair as the ki blast drew closer, the area taking a white hue from the intensity of the energy blast. It seemed that poor Gohan wasn't going to make it when a large figure appeared just in time with his arms spread wide, ready and willing to take the full blunt of the life-ending blast. The Green Warrior's roar of agony seemed to echo throughout Gohan's mind. He was left shocked as he watched his mentor slowly die through his tear-filled eyes. The ground shook and then there was mighty rumble followed by an explosion, but when it cleared, Piccolo was still standing, smirking towards Nappa even as his skin continued to sizzle and crack like roasted pork. Is that, NGH, all you got? Piccolo struggled to breathe as his words came out slurred. He tried to take a step forward, but that proved to be a mistake. His body could no longer hold up his own weight, sending the green alien warrior falling and collapsing harshly onto his side. Mr. Piccolo, Gohan whispered as gently rolled the dying warrior onto his back, bowing his head in shame. It's all my fault. Gohan, get out of here. Piccolo ordered, not wanting the boy to share his fate. Hold on, Mr. Piccolo. Dad will be here soon and he'll make you all better, I promise. Gohan had crawled over to Piccolo's still form, his tears hitting the ground like steady raindrops. Please don't die. It's funny, me, Piccolo, the great, incorruptible evil, saving a child. Hey, how pathetic. Piccolo bared his soul to Gohan in his final moments. In his own mind, he thought back on his life and how he only lived for 8 years, how all his past plans for world domination just felt meaningless now. None of it mattered because he knew deep down he had changed. It's because of you and your dad, infecting me, with your softness. Piccolo, Gohan managed to utter, too stunned to speak. You know, why you were the only one to ever really talk to me. Piccolo hated himself for the tears. Damn it, he didn't want to cry. Not in front of Gohan, but no matter how hard he tried, he couldn't stop. Those last couple of months we spent together, they weren't so bad. Strangely enough, even when your brother joined, it was nice not to feel so alone. Piccolo gave his crying student a weak smile as the light started to fade. Thank you, for being my friend. The great demon King Piccolo had died, not as a tyrant nor a monster but a defender and a champion of Earth. Like I thought, just a useless slug after all. Nappa's words sent Gohan into a rage. The boy threw his head back as he screamed to the very heavens. The ground shook from his power, pieces of earth floating from the heavy output of ki. I'm going to rip out your spine. Gohan surprised even Nappa with his speed. He was like a relentless demon as he hit harder than he ever had before, using power he didn't even know he had. So blinded by rage, he wasn't even aware that he was screaming nor what he was saying. His inner Saiyan leading his fury on to the one-armed giant. I'll shove it down your throat and tear your heart out. You're dead, you hear me? Dead. Gohan kicked Nappa away. Yellow ki gathered between his palms and the furious boy rained a barrage of energy blasts on the stunned Saiyan elite, following it up with one last ki blast, the last of his fury and desire for vengeance fueling his final attack. Boom. The explosion that followed created a mushroom-shaped dust cloud. Krillin couldn't believe his eyes, mouth agape as he whispered out the boy's name in disbelief, Gohan. Pant pant, I hope I made you proud, Mr. Piccolo. But the son of Goku would soon find out. While he still did a fair amount of damage, it still was useless. Enough. I've had more than enough with all of you. Nappa growled, his bloodshot eyes locked squarely on the shocked Saiyan child. No, Krillin whispered. He blinked and before he knew it, Nappa was in front of the trembling little boy. It was fun, Brad, but I'm done with you. Don't worry, I'll send Daddy to see you real soon. Nappa laughed as he raised his foot high and brought it down in a mighty stomp, intending to crush Gohan under his massive boot-covered feet. Swish. Gohan slowly opened his eyes to see he was floating. But that couldn't be possible, he had no energy. That's when the brave little warrior looked down, a happy smile breaking across his face at a very familiar cloud, Nimbus. What the? Nappa muttered as his brows creased in confusion, eyeing Gohan wearily until he heard the sound of boots touching the ground. Slowly he turned his head to see none other than Goku staring at him with a cold, furious gaze. Daddy. Gohan had never looked happier. The sight of his father made the boy feel safer than he had been in months. Krillin was starting to tear up in relief. Finally his best friend was back. Hope had returned tenfold. They could still win this. Goku was silent as he walked toward Piccolo's corpse, squatting as he placed his fingers on the alien man's neck, searching for life, closing his eyes sadly when he could find none. Piccolo. Slowly Goku rose, turning to look at Yamcha, then at Tien who still had Chaozu sitting faithful by his still side, head bowed. He tried to stop Nappa with his power but he was unfortunately far too weak to even attempt to hold the monster in place. Unable to bear the sight of what was going to happen to Gohan, he looked away. Don't tell me you're shocked to find your worthless friends dead. Ha ha ha. Don't worry, Kakarot, you'll see them soon enough. Nappa said in an attempt to agitate the Saiyan raised on Earth, losing his evil smirk when he saw Kakarot wasn't rising to his bait. You're going to pay for this. Goku promised as he surged his ki throughout his body in an intimidating display of power. Nappa didn't need his scouter to feel nervous, sweat trailing down the side of his bald head as he took a step back. What's wrong with me? I can't possibly be scared of this low-class trash. I'm a warrior, a Saiyan elite. Nappa screamed within his own mind, swallowing his fear as he charged at Goku with a yell, throw a punch that Nappa was sure was a dead-on hit, only for Goku to turn his body to the side, glaring as moved within Nappa's guard. Far too fast for the Titanic Saiyan to react as he buried his fist and arm deeply into Nappa's stomach. Nappa took multiple steps back as spittle, Blood and perhaps even a little bile trailed down his chin, eyes wide and bloodshot as he grit out, "Why, you're gonna pay for that. You talk a lot but you don't have the strength to back it up." Goku taunted, yet he never broke his cool gaze, his mouth set in a thin line as Nappa responded by surrounding himself in ki and launching himself at Goku with a fury of punches. "What the hell did you say? You think I'm all talk, huh? Well, let's see what you think of this, you little prick." Nappa roared, steadily losing all sense of himself as he didn't have Vegeta here to keep him in line. Nappa was sure he had Kakarot this time, ready to ensnare the orange-wearing man in a back-breaking hold, only for the Saiyan on Earth to embarrass the mustached warrior by standing on top of his smooth head. Nappa yelled in fury as he tried everything in his power to capture Goku, but it was clear he was outmatched in both speed and strength. Goku surprised the evil Saiyan invader with a surprise kick to the stomach. "This is for Yamcha." Nappa snarled like an ape as he attempted to kick Goku in retaliation, only to receive a heavy elbow to the chin for his troubles. That was for Tenshinhan. Nappa stopped his intense mid-air spin by pure force, righting himself and turning as he threw a massive ki blast, packed with enough power to rupture the planet. Die. Goku saw the attack quickly approaching and didn't even bother with dodging, taking the attack head-on and allowing himself to be caught in the following explosion. Nappa's premature celebration was cut off before it could even start as the smoke cleared to reveal Goku was completely unharmed. Not even his GI had a mark, tear or scratch from Nappa's ineffective attack. In a blink and you miss it moment, Goku knocked Nappa to the ground before following up with a kick that dislocated the much larger Saiyan's jaw, sending his burly form flying into a mountain, and that was for Piccolo. Nappa growled as he pulled his bloody form out of the rock and dirt, nearly frothing at the mouth from his building rage. The hulking Saiyan yelled as he swiped his two fingers up, detonating the ground around Goku similar to how he destroyed East City, but of course, the Saiyan of Earth saw it coming and was completely unharmed. Nappa saw his opportunity. He charged at Goku with a yell, thinking he had the upper hand. A hard elbow to the chest sent Nappa sailing back to reality as he held the area Goku had struck. Spittle flew past his lips as he snarled, "Take this." The mountain of a Saiyan opened his mouth wide, having built a tremendous amount of ki, and let it loose, using his ultimate and most powerful move against the Saiyan warrior raised on Earth, but it was child's play for Goku to counter it with a simple Kamehameha. That was my most powerful attack," Nappa said to himself in disbelief, feeling for the first time fear and outclassed by someone other than Vegeta. "That one made me sweat a little," Goku commented as he shot the much larger Saiyan a smirk before shifting his features to something more stern. "I think it'll be best if you give up before I seriously have to hurt you. I'll give you this one chance to leave and never come back." Overpowered by lower-class scum like you, Nappa knew he couldn't beat Kakarot, even if he didn't lose his arm. He was smart enough to know it wouldn't have made a difference, and yet, it was his pride that took the heaviest blow. He glanced towards the now standing bald monk and his fellow Saiyan's child, an idea forming as he realized that if he couldn't beat Goku physically, then he'll strike where it'll hurt the most. "Grr, I'll teach you to make a mockery of me." "Oh no, Gohan, Krillin." Goku gave chase after the hulking giant, but he could see Nappa was using his remaining ki to shoot himself at his Kakarot's son and best friend as fast as he could. He was too fast, just out of Goku's reach. "Die!" Nappa screamed in glee, smirking when he saw both Gohan and Krillin were too stunned to move. Goku broke out into a sweat as he gave chase, but as Nappa drew closer to his son, he knew that he would be too late. "I'm not going to make it. I got no choice, Kaioken." Red energy shrouded Goku heavily as he used the ancient and powerful technique of his master, appearing behind the evil Saiyan and sending him spiraling into a heavy free fall after he charged into his unprotected back. In another burst of speed, Goku appeared under the burly giant, catching him with a single hand but at the same time, snapping his spine from the impact. Nappa forgot to breathe from the intensity of the pain, unable to move or even twitch a finger as he was thrown to the ground. Nappa groaned in pain, clawing at the earth as he failed to move. I can't feel my legs." "I warned you," was all Goku said before walking over to his child, crouching down so he was closer to Gohan in height, and gave him a big hug. "I'm so glad to see you're okay, Gohan." "Daddy, it's okay son, I'm here." Goku pulled back to offer his son half of a senzu bean, offering the other to his wounded best friend. "Eat this, you'll feel way better." "Here's half for you, Krillin." "Thanks Goku, you're a lifesaver." Krillin told the taller man, nearly in tears from relief. Big bro. Gohan's sudden yell drew his father's attention. The boy hurried and gripped his father's GI tight, frantically telling him, "Dad, Naruto's in trouble." Uncle Raditz went to help him. "You have to hurry." Goku had momentarily forgotten about his other son's dropping energy during his fight with Nappa. Goku simply gave his son a nod before taking off in a burst of speed. Neither Gohan or Krillin could keep up with stronger Waitron's astonishing speed, but such a sight and the way the Saiyan raised on Earth defeated Nappa brought hope to the two tired warriors. Goku flew onto the scene just in time to see his brother about to be reduced to dust by the approaching ki wave. Without any hesitation, he saved Raditz, the man who was once his enemy and now the defender of his son. Goku smacked aside the ki wave, glaring at the snarling Saiyan prince who was steadily schooling his features. Finally, Kakarot had arrived. Vegeta paused in his gruesome assault, staring at the new arrival curiously. Cursing as he no longer had a scouter to scan Goku's power level. He was essentially blind and unaware of how strong this stranger, who he assumed was Kakarot, truly was, but given he had to get past Nappa first, and since he looked unharmed, then it was more than safe to assume he had a high power level. Kakarot. Raditz whispered his brother's name, his non-swollen eye widening. "Long time no see, brother," Goku said, glancing over his shoulder with a smile. Before his gaze moved to the still form of his son, he was instantly at Naruto's side, carefully cradling the boy in his arms, reaching into a hidden pocket inside his GI, grimacing as he saw he only had one bean left. Raditz recognized the Senzu bean immediately and could tell from the look on his brother's face that there was only one left. He gave a dismissive grunt. "Give it to the boy." "Raditz." Goku called out his brother's name in shock as he looked over to his fellow Saiyan, taking in his appearance. Every bone surely had to be broken in his body, blood covered his form head to toe. He must have been in agony, but even so, he still demanded that Naruto take the full Senzu. Splitting it in half would just be a waste. Give it to him. He needs it more. His older brother gave no room for argument, giving a dismissive grunt as he found a rock to lay against. "You really have changed." Goku was wise enough not to say his thoughts out loud. While he didn't know Raditz that well, he knew the man enough to know he was a very prideful individual, a trait that all Saiyans share in one way or another. Goku carefully shuffled Naruto in his arms, placing the Senzu bean at Naruto's slightly parted lips. "Chew on this, son." With his father's aid, Naruto slowly munched on the Senzu and its effects were almost instantaneous. His wounds steadily faded away and his strength returned like a fanned ember finding its natural state of a roaring flame. Naruto's eyes slowly blinked open in confusion, looking around until finally he locked eyes with the man he's always wanted to meet, the man he inspired to be, the warrior he was destined to surpass, his father. "Dad, is that you?" Naruto's lip trembled as tears grew in the corner of his eyes. His father was finally in front of him in the flesh, and he was everything Naruto hoped he would be. His dark eyes were filled with unconditional love and kindness. He was radiating with earth-shaking strength, but he was still gentle like a loving father should be. "It's really me, buddy." Goku was gentle as he used his own GI to wipe the blood off his boy's face, praising him. "You did so well to hold him off till I got back. I'm so proud of you, son." Naruto craned his head down so his father couldn't see his eyes, shaking. Sniff sniff. Goku blinked in confusion. Worried he may have possibly upset his son, he tried to comfort him by asking, "What's wrong? Are you okay, oomph?" Only for Naruto to interrupt his father with a tackle that felt as if it was launched at supersonic speeds. Midway through the harmless tackle, it shifted into a tight embrace. Just like how he does with his mother, Naruto wrapped his tail around his father as he nuzzled into his chest, crying, "I'm so happy to finally meet you." Goku couldn't help but chuckle in an innocent manner, gently patting his son on the back as he whispered, "Me too, Naruto." Such a warm and loving moment was not long-lasting as the dreaded Prince of all Saiyans had to make his timely interruption. "As heartwarming as this all is, Kakarot, you have unfinished business." Goku frowned, gently placing his son on the ground as he turned to face his fellow Saiyan with his features now becoming hard as stone. "I guess you're right. You know my name, but I can't say I know yours. Vegeta, son of King Vegeta III, Prince of all Saiyans, and I'm here for the Dragon Balls." Vegeta was short with his introduction and made it clear what he was after straight away. His power was beyond intimidating, more intense than anything Goku had ever felt before, but the Saiyan raised on Earth also knew there was a slight dip in Vegeta's power from his fierce battle with Naruto. "There's no point," Goku told the prince coldly. "Oh, and why would that be, Kakarot?" questioned Vegeta in amusement, curious on what bluff his fellow Saiyan would say in an attempt to try and fool him. "The Dragon Balls were used to bring me back to life, so they're all but useless now, but that doesn't matter considering your buddy killed Piccolo." Goku's explanation had Vegeta losing his smile rather quickly, eyes narrowing dangerously. "What about the Namekian?" Vegeta's words carried a barely suppressed fury, a ticking time bomb waiting to explode. "Because of him, the Dragon Balls are gone." Goku moved to stand in front of his son and brother, unsure what the Prince of all Saiyans would do with this new information. He didn't want Naruto or Raditz to be caught in the crossfire of Vegeta's wrath. "What?" He surged around Vegeta the more he learned how pointless this year-long trip to Earth really was. Disobeying the orders of Frieza, securing his death warrant, only for it to be for nothing. His wish for immortality, once again out of his grasp. "I guess you didn't know that. NRGH. Goku's words had Vegeta soaring into a rage, blasting off towards Nappa's location so he could deal with his crippled comrade. "You stay here with Raditz, Naruto." Goku ordered his son as he took off after Vegeta, leaving no room for argument as he was gone in a heavy dash of speed. "Dad, wait," Naruto called out as he went to give chase after his father, but the voice of his uncle halted his own sudden takeoff. "Naruto," Raditz grunted as he moved to stand next to his nephew, cradling his limp arm. "You haven't fully recovered, you'd only get in the way if you attempted to aid your father." "But I can't stand here and do nothing," Naruto yelled, angry not at his uncle but himself and the situation they were in. He knew he needed to help his father, his Saiyan blood was practically screaming at him to fly and fight, but deep down, Naruto knew his uncle was right. "I understand how you feel, even now I want to follow after Kakarot and fight, but trust me, your father is stronger than you think. Believe in him because at this moment, he's our only hope." Raditz finished his piece with a grunt as he rose to his feet, slowly walking in the direction where he could sense his other nephew and the bald monk were currently residing. "Dad," Nappa clawed at the green grass, growling as he tried to crawl away from the battlefield, stopping when he saw a pair of white boots. The bald Saiyan weakly lifted his head, holding his hand out for his fellow Saiyans to take. "Vegeta, help me, please." Vegeta stared at the outstretched hand with an unreadable fear. He reached out and clasped Nappa's hand tightly. Nappa gave the prince a look of gratitude, giving a weak smile. "Thank you, Vegeta." "No problem, friend," Vegeta said sinisterly as his grip on Nappa's hand became bone-crushing. Smirking as he threw the much larger man into the sky as white ki surged around his form, transforming itself into a compacted blast that rumbled the ground as it was launched. The burly paralyzed Saiyan stared at the approaching ki wave in betrayal. He had known the prince since he was a boy. He had been a loyal warrior and had thought they were like brothers given they were the last of their race. All Nappa managed to wail out before he was vaporized was a harrowing, "Vegeta, why?" Boom. "I have no use for a Saiyan that can't even use his legs," was Vegeta's cruel reply, chuckling at Kakarot's furious expression. "You heartless monster, he was your comrade." Goku growled out, fists clenched tight at the Saiyan prince's lack of compassion. "He was weak," Vegeta said simply, arms crossing as he asked, "Now, shall we?" Not wanting to risk anyone else getting hurt or any innocent life stumbling upon them mid-fight, Goku gestured for the older Saiyan to follow him, planning to lead him to a deserted rocky terrain. "Not here. Follow me, if you can." HMPH. Gohan and Krillin watched the two Saiyans fly away, feeling relief when they were no longer surrounded by the suffocating nature of Vegeta's ki. Gohan looked away from the direction his father flew off and turned his head towards the weak ki signature slowly approaching. The boy's eyes flew wide at the sight of his beaten and bruised uncle, Uncle Raditz, Naruto. Naruto gave his younger brother a tired but supportive grin, glad to see Gohan was alive and all right. "You okay, Gohan?" Gohan appreciated his big brother's concern, giving a little nod as he moved to help steady Raditz on his more wounded side. "Yeah. Dad came and saved us just in time, but Mr. Piccolo." It was only now that Naruto and Raditz noticed the perished Namekian warrior. Naruto's eyes became downcast, mumbling, "Poor Piccolo. Don't be so sad, we can bring everyone back with the Dragon Balls. Raditz's comment had the two halflings and the full-blooded human staring at the injured Saiyan in disbelief. But Piccolo's gone. How could we use him? Naruto questioned, hope beginning to take root inside his heart. The Namekian wasn't the only one of his kind. There is a planet full of Namekians called Planet Namek, and I'm more than certain they have Dragon Balls as well. Raditz said confidently, smirking when he saw joy sprout across both Naruto and Gohan's face as they cheered. Did you hear that, Naruto? We might be able to bring everyone back. Gohan said happily as he held his brother's hands, tail swishing in excitement. We are gonna bring everyone back, Gohan. Uncle Raditz, how do we get to Namek? Before Raditz could so much as explain, explosions of ki erupted in the distance, cutting the man off as everyone stared at the far rocky terrain in concern. Damn, they've already started. Krillin muttered, practically feeling every blow from the rumbling force of the ground. Raditz was first to see the determined looks quickly appearing on his nephew's face, scowling as he said, "Don't be fools, you'll only get yourself hurt." Naruto gave his uncle a sheepish smile, starting to walk backwards. "Sorry Uncle Raditz, but we're going to help Dad." Naruto rocketed off towards the direction of his father, Gohan following suit, waving goodbye to Raditz as he yelled out, "Bye Uncle." Damn brats. Raditz cursed before grimacing in pain, cussing out his brother's sons and their Saiyan nature, yet he knew he would be lying if he didn't admit he was proud of them. Naruto. Gohan. Krillin called out to the reckless Saiyan children, but his calls fell on deaf ears as they quickly flew out of sight. Go after them, monk. Raditz ordered, glancing over to his left to see Chaozu still alive and slowly walking towards them. What about you? Krillin asked, taking a knee next to the injured Saiyan. I'm not going to die, but I'm useless as I am now. Krillin gave a hesitant nod, saying, got it. You stay here and I'll be back with the boys soon. Raditz watched silently as the bald monk took off after Naruto and Gohan, praying his foolish nephews would survive this ordeal and that his brother could handle the evil prince. With Goku and Vegeta, the two Saiyan warriors landed on their own respected rocks. Vegeta chose to stand above Kakarot, a silent symbolic gesture of the classes they were born with. The super elite prince and the low class. Vegeta couldn't help but talk in a mocking tone. You should be honored, it's not every day that a bottom-tier boy like you gets to fight an elite warrior like me. The wind blew both their long black spiky locks, eyes stuck in a permanent gaze of clashing wills. It's unlikely you knew this, but us Saiyans are tested for combat aptitude soon after we're born. The pitiful babies born with a low power level are shipped off to a planet with no serious threat, just like you were. If that's how I got to Earth, then I'm grateful. Goku said with a smile. Indeed he was grateful. He made many friends, found love, and had children who he hoped would one day carry on his legacy. The Saiyan warrior raised on Earth was just fine being Son Goku. The name Kakarot didn't mean anything to him. On this planet, we know even the weakest of warriors can beat an elite if they work hard enough. At least you lot have a sense of humor. Vegeta chuckled to himself before shifting into his signature fighting stance, a royal form passed from father to son. Time to show you a power that a low-class warrior like yourself could only dream of. Goku said nothing as he fell into the classic stance of the turtle hermit school. His muscles were tense and he was ready to spring into action at any moment. That's when he saw Vegeta's muscles give a brief twitch. Goku quickly leapt forward, meeting the Prince of all Saiyans midway in a mighty deadlock. Vegeta wouldn't say it out loud, but he was somewhat impressed by Kakarot's strength. He could understand why Nappa lost, but he could tell his fellow Saiyan was hiding something. Goku went for a high kick to Vegeta's head only for it to miss by a hair's breadth. The prince was quick as he maneuvered through the air and landed a sharp kick to Goku's solar plexus. Spittle flew from Goku's mouth as he was momentarily stunned. Then a blow from the right had him seeing spots. A follow-up from the left left him wheezing, but he wouldn't let another punch get through. He caught Vegeta's clenched fist, surprising the smaller Saiyan by throwing him with all his might over his shoulder, giving chase as he landed a sharp kick to the armored Saiyan's back. Vegeta growled as he cracked an eye open to see Goku was already in front of him, returning the favor with a gut punch of his own and a right hook that sent Vegeta flying back. Goku gave chase in a heavy streak of silver ki, yelling as he went in for another punch only to receive a ki blast to the face for his efforts. Mounts crumbled and blasted apart from the following detonation of energy. Goku's body was a pillar of destruction as he crashed through several tall rock formations, using ki to stop himself from crashing into the earth below. He flipped to his feet, using the smoke cover to his advantage. "Where are you, Kakarot?" Vegeta was cautious as he flew closer to the massive cloud, obscuring his enemy. He cursed his inability to sense energy like the Earthlings and made a note to himself to figure it out when he got the chance. A sudden explosion of ki parted the heavy dust cloud. Goku stood with bent knees, teeth clenched as he was surrounded by an intense red aura. His muscles bulged heavily and he almost looked like he was in pain, but he pushed past it with a roar, "Kaioken! Kaio! Wa HRK!" Vegeta's eyes bulged wide in pain. A followed-up punch dazed the prince beyond belief, and the uppercut to the jaw sent Vegeta flying and crashing into a mountain. The brown rocks falling and crumbling into a heap upon the dazed and furious prince. Goku, not wanting to let the opportunity slip him by, cupped his hands by his side and charged a quick Kamehameha, letting the blue beam loose on where he sensed Vegeta to be buried. The prince could see the blue beam rapidly approaching his buried form. Snarling in rage, Vegeta let loose a thunderous bellow as purple ki erupted around his shaking form, stopping and countering the Kamehameha before it could get close and do any serious harm. Vegeta closed his eyes and took a breath before looking back up at Goku with a smirk, slowly floating into the sky as he said, "I'll give credit where credit is due. You're strong. I'd say you're even stronger than your son." Goku smiled in pride, accepting the compliment as he couldn't help but admire Naruto's strength, especially since the halfling was so young with plenty of room to grow. He is a chip off the old block after all. Your boy managed to draw out a great deal of power from me, but he didn't bring out everything. Allow me to honor you with the full power of a Saiyan elite. Vegeta hunched forward, teeth grit in a menacing smile as a vein bulged near his temple. The sky became black with clouds, lightning struck the earth in a vicious reaction to Vegeta's full power. Goku was left shocked, terrified but also awed by Vegeta's mortifying display. This is bad, his power is shaking the very earth itself. And yet, I can't help but feel all fired up. Is this because of my Saiyan side? The Saiyan raised on earth didn't get a moment longer to ponder as the very storm Vegeta summoned with his magnificent but terrifying energy was blown away from the aftershock of him reaching full power. The prince cracked a smirk at Goku before disappearing and reappearing in front of the unprepared father of two, surprising him with a nasty headbutt that sent Goku soaring. But the prince of all Saiyans was far from finished. He gave chase and Vegeta made sure to bury his foot as deeply as he could in Goku's stomach, giving a sadistic smile as he did so. Goku struggled to keep up with Vegeta's overwhelming speed, gasping as the prince buried his elbow between his shoulder blades in a nasty unforeseen strike. Goku attempted to retaliate with a back punch but received a kick to the chin that sent him flying back. Not wanting to give Vegeta the opportunity to land another bone-crushing blow, he flipped mid-air and landed just in time to see the deadly prince launching a massive ball of ki that cut through the air like a comet. Goku knew there was no chance of him simply dodging it normally, so he had no other choice but to rely upon the power of the Kaioken once more, Kaioken times 2. Goku was once again surrounded in a heavy intense red aura, leaping out of the way just in time as Vegeta's attack reduced a hefty part of the area to rubble. The prince was relentless as he took aim and fired a fearsome ki wave that Goku barely managed to dodge. The top right half of his GI was incinerated, but Goku himself was fine. The Saiyan raised on earth quickly took to the ground, keeping his eyes squarely on Vegeta as he ripped off his ruined GI top. I can't keep up even with the Kaioken times 2, Goku muttered to himself before smiling, chuckling as he said, "Oh, well. Better to blow myself up than to let him do it. What's the matter, Kakarot? Out of silly little tricks?" Vegeta mocked, arms folded as he thought to himself that this battle would be far easier than he expected. Not quite. Goku quipped back before grunting as he flexed his stiff and bulging muscle, surprising even Vegeta as he roared, "I just need my body to last as long as it can." Kaioken times 3. Goku was hunched over as he built energy. He lifted his head to level Vegeta a glare and then rushed the prince in a red streak of energy. The ground Goku stood previously shattered apart from his speed and power. Vegeta, who had been previously dominating the fight, was unprepared for a punch that felt like it almost took his head clean off his body. Yet the Saiyan defender of Earth was not going to let his assault end here. In a spike of speed, Goku traveled around Vegeta, kicking the shorter man in the spine with both of his boot-covered feet. Vegeta was unable to speak from the pain, managing to grit his teeth as he flipped around mid-air, firing a ki blast at Kakarot in retaliation, but the power of the Kaioken outclassed his strength and speed significantly, yet one must wonder if the cost was too great as every blow from Goku damaged his own body more and more. A sudden and surprise kick to Vegeta's face sent the Saiyan Prince spiraling into a titanic boulder, reduced to rubble as Vegeta's flying body made contact. Vegeta laid buried for only a moment before the rocks and dirt were blown off his form with a shout of pure fury. The Saiyan Prince looked crazed as bruises and marks littered his form, his eyes were shaking with rage. Curse you! Vegeta attempted to throw a punch to stop Goku's charge, but the younger Saiyan surprised the elite warrior by flipping over his punch and spring, shooting himself back while landing a knee once again on Vegeta's back, hitting the prince in the same spot where he kicked him earlier. The great and mighty Vegeta was left confused, dumbfounded even as he realigned himself and charged back at Kakarot. It didn't make sense. There was no way such a low-class warrior could hold a candle to someone of such royal and elite status as Vegeta, and yet, he was. He was making Vegeta have to put in effort, he was actually managing to hurt the prince, and worst of all, he was winning. That thought alone was near enough to drive the Prince of all Saiyans to madness. Vegeta knew Kakarot's power level had exceeded his own with his Kaioken technique, but no matter how hard he tried to overpower the man, he just wasn't strong enough to do so. Raw. Goku ducked under Vegeta's right hook to counter with a gut-rocking punch to the solar plexus. Vegeta's eyes went wide as his pupils thinned, cradling his stomach as he took a step back, followed by another, bastard. Goku was panting heavily, one eye closed from the pain of his torn body. He was sure King Kai was screaming his head off in Otherworld, calling him an idiot for pushing his body past his limits, but the father of two had no choice. He knew that if there was any chance of him beating Vegeta, he would have to shred past his previous limits, even at the cost of his own body. This low-class scum managed to surpass my power? Vegeta questioned, his ego unable to accept that someone of a lower status had actually managed to surpass his power. This cannot be happening. Goku was silent. Even while in immense pain, he kept his guard up, waiting tensely to see what Vegeta would do. I am an elite Saiyan warrior. I cannot be beaten by low-class filth like him. In Vegeta's mind, this wasn't right, it shouldn't be possible, but it was. The blood that trickled down his chin was proof enough. I think I might have overdone it with the Kaioken. My whole body feels like it's about to collapse in on itself. I need to finish this fast before I'm the first one to fold. Vegeta felt the blood on his chin and used his white glove to wipe away the crimson liquid of life. What is this? Blood. I have shed my noble blood. For this piece of trash. It was this act of realization that caused the battered prince to snap. His pride was wounded beyond measure, and Vegeta would not let this stand. That knowledge, I cannot endure. What is he? Goku questioned in worry. The condensed heavy build-up of purple ki was frightening as it was dangerous. I've had more than enough of this damn planet. It's about time I turn it to ashes and you along with it. Vegeta rocketed towards the sky, pulling his arms back as he charged his signature technique. The purple ki blast doubled in power and was even more dangerous than the Gallic gun he unleashed against Naruto. I guess I have no choice, I'll have to give it everything I got. Kaioken times 3. Goku was desperate as he fell into a crouch, arms and hands cupped by his side, a Kamehameha burned to life between his fingers. Goku was sure it was to be his strongest and biggest Kamehameha yet. Chanting the name of his attack with all his heart, for he knew it wasn't just his life on the line. Prepare to perish with this world you love so much. Die Kakarot. Vegeta snarled like the savage Ozaru that lay dormant deep inside, launching his Gallic gun with all his might. Goku threw his hands forwards as he screamed a deafening, "Ha!" a roar so loud that even King Kai, who was spectating the battle that decided Earth's fate, was left in awe by his pupil's power. Goku's blue ki beam soared upwards in a hopeful streak of defiance, while Vegeta's deathly purple ki blast purged down, its earth-shattering power blocked and countered by Goku's Kamehameha. Ka-boom! Vegeta yelled as he put more power into his blast, steadily pushing Goku's Kamehameha back bit by bit. Goku refused to give up, he couldn't and he wouldn't. The faces of his sons flashes before his eyes, followed by his wife, Chi-Chi, and his many friends. The Saiyan warrior raised on earth snapped his eyes open, called upon the power of the Kai once more as he bellowed, Kaioken times 4. Goku was nearly blown off his feet as his Kamehameha doubled in size and power. The blue beam of hope barreled past Vegeta's Gallic gun, hitting the prince point blank and carrying him against his will high into the sky. Goku was left as a panting mess, arms shaking as it felt like every muscle in body was torn apart by his new technique. The man had to take a knee as sweat dripped off his battered form. Goku. Goku glanced up through his sweat-soaked black spikes of hair, giving a tired grin at the sight of an old friend. Yajirobe, what are you doing here? Yajirobe crossed his arms, bumping his katana as he did so. I came to help. I've just been sticking to the shadows, waiting for my time to strike. Hee, glad to have you watching our backs. Goku said as he slowly rose to a standing position, wincing in pain from the strain put on his near-crippled form. Looks like you don't need it though. I saw you gave that nasty Saiyan what for. Yajirobe said, confident his Saiyan friend had taken care of Vegeta. Yet Goku didn't give such a thought any merit. He knew Vegeta was alive and was waiting for his fellow Saiyan to make his vengeful return. Yajirobe, you need to get out of here. I don't think that was enough to defeat him. Why you mean he's still alive? The shorter but larger man gave a big gulp, sweat trickling down the side of his pudgy cheek as he started to walk backwards, weakly saying, well, I'll see ya around Goku, good luck. Up high past the clouds, Vegeta floated, seething as he struggled to grasp the fact that he was overpowered by Kakarot. This can't be, me, outclassed, by trash like him. GNH, curse you, Kakarot, do you hear me, curse you. Vegeta took a moment to take a deep breath, temporarily dampening his steadily growing fury. The Prince of all Saiyans cracked a smirk as he thought to himself, I need to calm myself down. Kakarot has proven himself to be more dangerous than I gave him credit for, but no matter. Let's see how handles the power of a true Saiyan. Yet as Vegeta looked around the skyline now illuminated in a fine evening dusk, he found himself confused and struggling to find Earth's moon. The moon should be out by now. So where is it? Vegeta muttered before the realization of what was missing had the alien gritting his teeth in frustration. No, it can't be, those damn rats, you're much more clever than I thought, but getting rid of the moon won't save you. I'll lose a bit of strength by doing this, but I have no other choice. Hey, I'm sure Kakarot is going to be in for quite a shock. Vegeta thought to himself as he quickly descended back down to the rocky ground below. Looks like he's finally coming back down. Goku concealed a wince as he took a step back, once again reading himself for whatever Vegeta might do. I'm starting to think I don't have any other choice. I need to use the spirit bomb, it's the only way I'll be able to win. You must have thought you outsmarted me by blowing up your moon. Vegeta snarked, glaring at Goku in detest. The moon? Goku questioned, his face scrunching up in confusion. Don't act coy with me, Vegeta said as he slowly built ki into his hand, being slow and cautious so Kakarot wouldn't be wise enough to realize. Let me ask you, Kakarot, do you even know why we transform during a full moon? What are you getting at? Goku asked, a pit starting to form in his stomach as he felt like Vegeta was planning something big. It's quite simple. Moonlight is just sunlight being reflected off the surface, but did you know when it's being reflected by the moon, it contains an important key factor called green spectrum radiation. When the moon is full, that radiation exceeds 17 million Xeno units per second, and when we absorb that full amount through our eyes, Vegeta's tail unwrapped itself from around his waist during his explanation of Saiyan biology. Goku felt a decent amount of dread build up within his stomach. He didn't know what Vegeta was planning, nor did he know why the Saiyan Prince was telling him all this, but he still listened nonetheless. The Saiyan reaction is set off in a certain gland in our tails, and then finally our great transformation begins. There are many moons around this galaxy, but no matter the planet they orbited nor their size, their green radiation will not exceed 17 million Z.P.S. without the circular reflective space of a full moon. Vegeta held out his right hand, face set in concentration as he started to generate a white ball of ki above his palm. The greatest Saiyan warriors can compress the planet's atmosphere with a small power ball, creating an artificial moon that reflects 17 million Xeno. His power level just went down a bunch, Goku questioned, eyes focused on the white ball of ki. It's time, Kakarot, it's finally time for you to die. Make sure to remember why a low-class fighter should never challenge an elite. Ha 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 ha. Vegeta launched the white ball of ki high into the sky, reaching the upper atmosphere as he clenched his right hand roaring out, burst open and mix. The white ball of ki grew tremendously in size. Goku had to shield his eyes with one of his arms. Barely able to crack open one eye but still managing to do so, the Saiyan raised on Earth watched in horror as Vegeta began to transform into something monstrous. His eyes glowed red, he shook uncontrollably as if something deep inside was clawing to get out. His teeth sharpened into fangs as his mouth steadily formed into a muzzle. His ears lost their roundness, becoming sharp and pointed like a demon. His face steadily started to morph and change color. The part of his skin that isn't growing fur took on a light brown hue. Vegeta's muscles grew to tremendous sizes, his body morphing and changing to become something gigantic, something awful. Goku stared at the monstrous ape in horror, unable to believe this creature was the same man he was fighting mere minutes ago. Ha 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 ha, what do you think of that, Kakarot? Vegeta's voice came out in a deep rumbling tone. He took a big step forward, relishing in Goku's fear as the much smaller man took a step back. Why, you look just like that monster that killed my grandpa, Goku accused as he fell into a stance, ready to give himself distance at a moment's notice. You little fool, a Saiyan is most powerful in their Ozaru form. A Saiyan that still has their tail, that is. Vegeta mocked as he took another titanic step forward, ready to end Kakarot, once and for all. Now Goku wasn't the smartest man on Earth. This he knew, but he was a lot more clever than people gave him credit for, and it didn't take long for the Saiyan raised on Earth to realize that he was the one who murdered his grandfather. He was the one that appeared during the tournament as a child and nearly destroyed everything if it wasn't for his master. Gra! Vegeta snarled as his massive fist came down with a vengeance, crushing the spot Goku was standing previously like it was nothing. Goku got lucky dodging the first sudden and surprising attack, but he had no chance of dodging the giant Ozaru's spin kick. Having no other options, Goku crossed his arms in a block, tanking the hit to the best of his abilities. He's fast, Goku thought as body stopped skipping across the ground, creaking an eye open to see Vegeta hadn't stopped his pursuit. The alien's muzzle pulled back in an evil smile. Goku called out the name of his technique in a hurry, Kaioken. A red streak of energy zipped over the great Ozaru. Goku knew he was pushing his energy and his body to the very limit, but he had no other choice. Yet the warrior of Earth wasn't prepared for Vegeta to bat him aside with his massive tail. Goku yelled as he was sent spinning through the air, dazed but still conscious. His eyes focused just in time to see Vegeta once again leaping forward with his arms extended. Don't die before I've had my fun, Kakarot. Damn it, I just need 10 seconds. 10 seconds and I'll have enough energy to beat him. Goku growled out as his mind tried to think of a possible way to delay the approaching giant, but that's when he started to think of one of his deceased friends. Flying forward to meet Vegeta halfway, Goku held his hands by his face as he screamed the name of Tien's technique, Solar Flare. Arg, my eyes! Vegeta roared in agony as he clutched at his face, grimacing as he could see nothing but white even with his eyes sealed painfully shut. Goku took off with the aid of the Kaioken, finding a clearing with rocks to shield his form as he raised his hands to the sky, concentrating. I hope this works. Earth, the ocean and all living things, please lend me just a little bit of your energy. Vegeta, while still blind, started to fire purple beams of ki from his mouth. The first shot missed Goku by a mile, the second was much closer, but ultimately it still missed. Come on, just a bit more, the Saiyan whispered before his eyes snapped open in excitement. All of Earth's energy was gathered in his clenched fist, just waiting to be unleashed. Goku pulled his arm back, ready to unleash the spirit bomb, but unfortunately, Vegeta was ready. I see you, Kakarot. Vegeta yelled in glee, firing another purple ki blast from his mouth, but this time, he didn't miss. Boom! Goku lost his concentration as he was blown back from the following explosion, the spirit bomb fading from his hand, but that didn't mean he lost all that energy entirely. However, Goku wouldn't get a chance to gather his thoughts or use the remaining energy to create another spirit ball as Vegeta took the opportunity to land and crush both his legs. Goku wailed in agony, clutching at Vegeta's massive booted foot in a feeble effort to get the giant to move. Vegeta simply laughed, looking down at his fellow Saiyan with sick glee. What's wrong, Kakarot? Did I, accidentally, crush your legs? Allow me to do the same to your heart. Vegeta clenched his fight hand into a fist, but he left his pointer straight, intending to pierce Kakarot with the giant digit, but Goku wasn't one to simply lay down and die. He would rather go out fighting, so with the remainder of his energy, he fired a ki wave directly into Vegeta's eye, sparing his life for a moment longer. Hey, he thought I'd leave you something to remember me by, Goku said with a weak grin, eyes half-lidded as he waited for Vegeta to finish him off. You filthy worm, I'll make you pay for this, Vegeta promised, one eye closed and damaged from his fellow Saiyan's surprise attack. He reached out and scooped up Goku into his massive hand, holding the warrior as if he was a toy. Vegeta held the much smaller Saiyan between his giant hands. Steadily he started to squeeze, smiling as he heard Goku's bones fracture and crack. Let him go. A yellow ball of ki slammed into the side of Vegeta's muzzled face. It was Gohan who took a fighting stance upon landing on a nearby rock. Vegeta couldn't help but laugh, shaking his head in amusement before leveling the half-breed a glare, saying, well, if it isn't your son, Kakarot. What are you doing here, boy? Are you that desperate to see your father die? I'm going to stop you, Gohan promised as a silver veil of ki surged to life around his tiny form. His heart hardened and ready for what must be done. You're going to stop me? Ahahaha. And how are you going to stop me when you're all alone? Vegeta questioned, sneering down at the child as he was prepared to kill the boy's father at a moment's notice. Who says I'm alone? Gohan responded with a smirk, sending his sneaking brother a hidden signal. It was time to attack. Vegeta narrowed his remaining open eye. He knew these Earthlings were crafty, deceitful creatures. He knew he couldn't let his guard down, but alas, he wasn't prepared for Naruto to suddenly appear behind him and latch onto his tail, flying and pulling with all his might. Hurrah! Naruto yelled as he yanked the giant Ozaru off his feet and into the air. What the? Vegeta in his moment of shock let go of Goku, flailing his arms as he attempted to stabilize himself mid-air. But Naruto refused to give him the opportunity, shooting himself forward while at the same time coating his foot in ki. The halfling landed a devastating kick on the titanic monster's back. Take this. Gra! Vegeta's heavy body rumbled the ground, shattering the earth from his sudden impact. Krillin, who had remained hidden, waiting for the perfect opportunity to save Goku, leapt into the sky and caught his best friend, taking him away from the battle. I got you, Goku. Krillin, is that you? Goku asked, managing to open one of his eyes, feeling relieved at the sight of Krillin's easygoing smile. You don't think we'd just leave you behind, did ya, buddy? Krillin asked as he gently landed, leaning Goku up against a rock. Gee, the boys, the wounded father whispered in concern, looking in the direction where they were currently fighting off Vegeta as they spoke. Krillin gave his friend a look of understanding. He hated the fact Naruto and Gohan were out here, but they both knew they didn't have a choice, and if they were going to win then they needed those boys. I know, Goku, but they're too damn stubborn to listen to me, but in a way, I guess that's a good thing. Goku managed to crack a smile through the immense pain. Feeling proud of his boys and their determination to protect their father. Hey, they're my sons after all. Don't worry, I'll watch their backs, Krillin promised as he turned to fly away and join the Saiyan brothers in battle. And I'll watch Goku, Yajirobe assured the bald monk, as he snuck forward from his hiding spot, standing proudly as he rested one hand on his katana. Why, Yajirobe, what are you? Krillin didn't get a chance to finish as the much larger man interrupted him with a shout. Never mind that, go help the kids. Krillin gave his fellow human a blank stare as he started to float into the sky. You just make sure Goku stays safe. The two exchanged a nod before Krillin took off towards the terrible battle, arriving just in time to see Naruto and Gohan working together, flying around the enraged Vegeta. Naruto and Krillin briefly crossed gazes, and through that look was a single order. Stick to the plan. So with reluctance, Krillin took his place not too far away from the ongoing conflict, waiting for the perfect opportunity to strike. Follow my lead, Gohan. Naruto orders as he shot a barrage of ki at Vegeta's titanic form, each blast landing perfectly but not doing much damage. Right. Gohan mimicked his big brother's actions, firing his own ki blast as barely dodged an incoming strike from Vegeta's massive hand. Damn insects, Vegeta growled, growing more furious by the second as he continued to fail to kill Kakarot's children. Naruto surprised Vegeta by coming down with a double axe kick to the neck while Gohan went up with a nasty uppercut to his muzzled chin. The boys flipped away, landing next to each other in a charging stance. He surged to life around both of them, swallowing them whole in its massive silver flame-like aura. Without saying a word, both brothers shot forward with their fists extended in a mighty punch that had the Ozaru keeling over from the blow. Vegeta's boots left massive grooves against the ground as he was thrown back, smashing into a mountain and left vulnerable for Naruto and Gohan's combined attack. Kamehame Masenko. The two sons of Goku threw their hands forward with a mighty scream, ha! Blue and yellow fused together, the size of their powerful ki waves combined and made to be almost the same size as Vegeta's armored chest. The following explosion was massive. Krillin was nearly thrown back from the shockwave, but he held strong. He couldn't fail Naruto and Gohan, not now. Vegeta swiped the remaining smoke away as he stomped towards the Saiyan children, yelling like a feral beast with his tail extended from his fury. Krillin knew this was his best and only chance to strike, so he charged the last of his ki into a final Kenzen, the largest one he's ever created. He didn't waste a moment to throw the spinning ki disc. Now no one could say if it was bad luck or if they simply underestimated Vegeta, but the massive ape leapt over the attack, turning his body to fire a beam of energy from his mouth in the direction he assumed Krillin was stationed, sending the monk flying from the nearby blast. However, Vegeta was far from finished as he turned back to face the Saiyan children, kicking the youngest of Kakarot's children away first. Gohan. Not even Naruto was spared, failing to activate Limitless in time as he was sent flying for a heavy back punch. Blood flying from his mouth as his skidding form created a trench. Vegeta waited for the Saiyan boys to get back up, thinking this might be another trick, but when they did not, he tilted his head back in triumph, laughing, "Is that it? Truly you both are as pathetic as your father." Vegeta in all his arrogance failed to remember that both Saiyan children still had their tails and his power ball was still active. Naruto stared into the sky weakly, an action Gohan mimicked, both their gazes drawn to the massive white light. The artificial moon's effects were instant. Both Naruto and Gohan couldn't stop shaking as they too started to turn into massive Ozarus. Vegeta heard the crumbling of rocks. Slowly he turned, shocked to find both Saiyan children back on their feet and more furious than ever. Gohan matched Vegeta with his dark brown fur and savage red eyes, but Naruto stood out with his golden coat of thick fur, his muzzle and hands a dark gray color, but his eyes were a glowing crimson and locked squarely on Vegeta. The Ozaru that is Naruto roared savagely. He was nothing but a beast with one impulse. Destroy Vegeta. Gohan's Ozaru roared alongside Naruto. The two beasts were able to sense that they were both family, that they were brothers. Vegeta held his ground, stomping his feet and banging his chest as he roared back. He would not allow some filthy half-breeds to intimidate him, the mighty Vegeta. Naruto traveled on all fours like an ape, the ground cracking and breaking apart with every step. Vegeta fired a ki blast point blank, but the golden Ozaru just charged through the attack, rocking his fellow Saiyan's face to the side with an earth-splitting punch. Gohan, not wanting to leave his brother to fight by himself, joined in the savage battery. Slamming his clenched fists up and down with no rhythm, guided simply by rage and pure uncontrolled strength. Vegeta roared from the pain, sending both the titanic apes flying back with an explosion of ki, damn brats. Naruto was quick to rise. Even as an Ozaru he was stubborn and wouldn't rest until he was sure that Vegeta was dead. The armored Ozaru was ready to meet his brethren in a clash. What he wasn't expecting was Gohan to have risen and start firing a never-ending barrage of ki blasts from his fanged mouth. This distraction gave Naruto the perfect opportunity to slip around Vegeta, hitting his fellow Ozaru in the back and forcing him to take a knee, but Naruto wasn't just satisfied with simply forcing Vegeta to kneel. Naruto's Ozaru forced Vegeta's head back, attempting to pry open his muzzle with both hands, punching and kicking the older Saiyan to weaken him. Vegeta did everything in power to shake the younger Saiyan off, but nothing was working. Against his will, Naruto parted Vegeta's mouth, staring down at the Saiyan invader evilly as he charged a ki blast to launch down his throat. Vegeta in his desperation picked up a piece of rock that was larger than his hand, and slammed it into Naruto's face, distorting his deathly attack and forcing the half-breed to let him go. Naruto stumbled back in a daze, unaware of Vegeta's tail wrapping around his ankle until it was too late. The Prince of all Saiyans tripped Naruto and took the opportunity to leap up and land harshly on the younger Saiyan's chest, grinding his heel with a sneer. Gohan roared in animalistic fury, firing another ki blast from his mouth to force Vegeta to get off his brother, but the prince was ready. He countered with a ki wave of his own, easily overpowering the younger Saiyan and catching him in an earth-rocking blast. It's useless. No one can beat the mighty Vegeta. Yet the great ape was cut off mid-sentence as Yajirobe, who had left to help at Goku's order, cut off his tail with a single accurate slice. Yajirobe made a face of panic as he scampered away. He hoped Goku's plan worked. And no, this can't be happening. Vegeta's titanic body started to shrink, losing all his beastly features as he returned to the man he once was, now tailless. How? Grr. Vegeta's non-damaged eye widened as he remembered just what exactly he was standing on. Naruto growled as he swiped at the now small prince, missing him by a hair. Gohan stomped forward, joining his brother as the two Ozaru's titanic forms looked over Vegeta menacingly, eyes glowing as they snarled in rage. Vegeta, for the first time during his invasion of Earth, felt fear. Never before had he been outclassed in such a situation, and if he was going to survive, then he needed to destroy his own power ball. Naruto and Gohan gave chase, mere inches from snatching Vegeta mid-air when, in an act of desperation, the prince threw his hand forward, sending out his ki and destroying the power ball. Naruto and Gohan's detransformation was near instant. Both boys were left unconscious from the strain and stress of becoming Ozarus. Vegeta stood over both half-breeds still in unconscious forms. The battered prince panted as he raised his hand, ready to end these young lives before they could truly begin. Take this. But his lack of awareness costed Vegeta once more, as Krillin, who had wandered over to Goku's side during the Clash of Titans, had taken the power of the Spirit Bomb at Goku's request, a ball made of Earth's energy soaring through the air and striking Vegeta's unguarded form. No, an explosion of white carried Vegeta into the sky. The awesome power of the Spirit Bomb was too much for even the mighty prince of all the Saiyans to overcome. The illumination in the sky died down until all that remained was a steady sense of calmness. The Earth was saved. Krillin let out a sigh of relief. He couldn't believe it. He did it. He actually did it. Nice job, buddy. Krillin turned around to see Yajirobe walking towards him with Goku on his back. The injured Saiyan sent his best friend a grin and a thumbs up. It's finally over. It would seem Krillin spoke too soon as Vegeta's body landed harshly on the rocky ground. Amazingly, the Saiyan prince was still alive, yet he also knew he was beaten and that there was no other option but to retreat. Vegeta reached into his armor and pulled out a cracked device, pressing a button to summon his space pod to his exact location. The prince grit his teeth as he tried to crawl away, freezing when heard the sound of Krillin's approaching footsteps. Vegeta looked over his shoulder fearfully, eye widening when he saw the katana in the bald monk's hand, raised high and ready to end his life. It's time for you to pay, you monster. Krillin told the evil Saiyan as he raised his arm high, ready to pierce the alien invader's heart with Yajirobe's katana. See, curse you, Vegeta whispered as his life flashed before his eyes, ready to face his end with honor. Krillin, wait. But his death was not meant to be this day, as Goku's call halted the sudden descent of Yajirobe's katana, confusing the bald monk and giving Vegeta the needed opportunity to weakly crawl away. Goku, I know what I'm about to ask sounds really selfish, but please don't kill him. Goku's request nearly had Krillin keeling over in disbelief, staring at his battered and broken friend with wide confused eyes. What, Goku? You can't be serious. He's the reason all our friends are dead. He tried to kill you and the whole world. Krillin argued as he turned his head back to face the defeated prince, leveling the man with a glare as he said, if we let him go then he'll probably just come back. He's not like Piccolo. There's no chance a guy like him can change. I know. You must think I'm crazy, but when I was in Otherworld, I thought I reached the peak of my power. I thought there was no way I could get stronger, until I fought him. Goku started to explain, looking towards Krillin with compassion, eyes tired, body broken, but his spirit was stronger than ever. If you kill him now, I dunno why, but I feel like it would be such a waste. Maybe it's my Saiyan's side. I know I should try and ignore it, but I want to fight him again. It's probably not very smart, but I know next time, I can beat him. Goku, please, Krillin. Krillin sighed at Goku's request, losing his grip on the katana as weakened, and listened to his best friend. You saved the Earth, so I guess you have the right to decide his fate. Krillin said as he gave his friend a weak grin before his expression became more serious as he limped towards Goku, but next time, you better win. Thank you, Krillin, I mean it. Vegeta's space pod finally landed next to the near-death prince. The Saiyan barely managed to crawl inside his pod, glaring at everyone within his line of sight as the pod door slowly closed. Enjoy this moment, Earthlings. Because next time, I will kill you all. With those being his final words, Vegeta took off deep into space. Earth was finally safe. The remaining Z fighters silently relished in their victory, not having to wait long before help arrived in the form of Bulma and her cargo plane. Chi-Chi was the first one off the plane, rushing towards